Just keep it real. Big John Steele. Tell me how you feel. Convince me where the top go. Just keep it real. Big John Steele. Tell me how you feel. Convince me where the top go. Jesus is king. Big John Steele. Jesus is king.
What's up, folks?
It don't make any sense. Slow down a second, it's making you tense. When I be talking, just don't interrupt. I say the truth, you get salty for what? Give me an argument, not an assertion. I'm almost convinced that you're not a real person. Why are you galloping? What do you gish? Topic to topic, you flop like a fish. Say what you're meaning while being concise. Still got my taco while
Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everyone is having a good Monday. Everyone had a good weekend. Make sure you're smashing like button, sharing the live, getting everything going, ready to go. Like I promised, we do got a special guest today, so I'm gonna pull this up now, even though we're not ready for the background drop, but it is what it is. We got the handsome man, Than from Inspiring Philosophy.
Hello.
How do you like my intro song?
I'm wondering when it's gonna stop.
It just goes, bro. It doesn't stop. What do you mean no sound? Test 1, 2. Everything should be working.
I hear everything. Should I dance?
Yes.
Trying to lift up the soul of his gums.
How's this?
Tell me how you feel.
People are saying, oh, it's on TikTok. That's my bad.
No audio on TikTok, huh?
Who cares about TikTok? Who cares about TikTok? We got it fixed, though. I got it fixed.
Jesus is king. John Steele.
All right, guys, what's up? Make sure you smash the like button, sharing the live. Just real quick, let's do a quick prayer, and then we'll do our thing that Than is also going to hate. And then we'll get into
What did I get myself into?
You don't know. We're really corny over here, bro. We're super corny.
I like corny. I like corny.
Then I don't know how you're going to feel
I'm just giving you a hard time, man. That's all.
I don't know how you're going to feel about this next one, but let's do it. Lord, I ask that you guide this live, that you allow the Holy Spirit to move through us, that we say only things that are right and good and edifying in your eyes, that we actually have good and, thoughtful people to speak to. But even if we have those chaotic demon types, Lord, I ask that you give us the ability to say things that at least plant seeds, if not for the people we're talking to, the people that are in the background. Thank you for these opportunities. In Jesus' name, amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, Holy Spirit. Did you just do the sign of the cross?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Did you just do the sign of the cross?
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
You did it. I saw it.
That's testimony. Testimony is not evidence.
I saw it. If testimony isn't evidence, no trans people exist.
Stop. Did you come up with that on your own, or do you remember me telling you about this when I was prepping?
I came up with it on my own.
Oh.
What?
My dock froze.
Gabriel Valencia has donated $2.00
Why is that happening?
and says this is a donation for them to never dance again.
Okay,
How much did he donate, though?
$2.
That's not enough. To stop. Look, my body just feels the vibrations of the music and just has to move. In order for you to stop that, John has to go into a higher tax bracket.
True. All right, are you ready for the cheese?
Okay, sure.
Is everyone ready for the hype? All right, let's do it.
Stand fast. Stand fast, Christians, believers, soldiers of the Most High. Steel your hearts, grip your weapons, fix your eyes on the enemy, for he stands before us now. This is not the hour for fear. This is not the place for retreat. This is the field where legends rise or fall. A day may come when our shields are broken, when our blades run red, when our bodies are cast to the dust. But it is not this day. A day may come when evil marches unchecked, when the enemy believes we are scattered and weak. But it is not this day.
Aw.
This day, we make war. We strike with holy fury, with fire in our lungs and steel in our hands. We charge with the roar of heaven behind us and the wrath of righteousness before us. Let them hear the thunder of our boots. Let them see the fire in our eyes. For we are not merely men. We are the army of the living God. Raise your swords, warriors. Raise your shields, defenders of the faith.
Dude.
Today we don't run. We
have a sword.
ride. We clash. We
She did it.
conquer. We bring the storm.
No,
We
it's
bring
not
the reckoning. We bring the war to their gates. By the blood of the Lamb and the power of his name, we will not fall. We will not fall. Now
I love
fight.
this.
Fight for glory, for honor, for the King will not fall.
You weren't ready for that level of corny and cheese, were you? You weren't
Look,
ready for that level
Here's
of
the thing,
cringe.
man. Here's the thing. If I was in the gym, that'd probably get me going. Like one of the things I like to listen to in the gym is anime hardstyle.
Yeah.
It's literally just like clips of Goku screaming with hardstyle music in the background. Something like that would get me going. It's just
We're not in the gym.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel like a testosterone surge right now.
I do. It gets me hyped every time. Christian Killian came in
I
with
love
$5. Says, John, IYO, who are the people talking to Jesus in Matthew 7:22 and 23? And what kind of Christians are they? Do you want to answer that one? Because I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't have Bible verses. I don't know what IYO means, and I
I
don't
think
have
that's
Bible verses
in your
memorized.
opinion.
Oh, in my opinion.
What was it? 722.
7:22 and 23. Abby,
Yes.
open the floodgates.
Okay.
Open the floodgates. And then we'll see if we can get any folks in today. Guys, make sure you're smashing the like button, sharing the live, doing all the things that you need to do. Today's topic is Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Prove us wrong, win a taco. If you want to join the conversation, it's tinyurl.com/Big John Steele. Password 12345 or 12345 if you're a normal speaking person. Make sure you jump in. If you disagree, please guys keep it open for disagreeers unless you have a question to ask. We do priority will go to people who are joining in the tiny URL, but if you want to, you can also join in the multi-guest button. We do got one guest. Let's bring them in.
Baby.
Yes.
It's not working.
What? Give it a second.
I have.
Oh, I forgot to click on my end.
Oh.
That was me, not you.
Yay.
See, I told you I forgot to do something.
Ah.
Now stay on that page until it goes live. Yeah. Open the floodgates. That's where the heathens come in from. Is there? I'm fluent in normal. What's normal? Hello. How are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
46.
All right, bro. Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Prove us wrong. Win a taco.
No, I want to know what is the proof that you are a real Christian?
What's the proof I'm a real Christian?
Mm-hmm.
I wear a cross
Anybody
around my
can say
neck.
they're Christians.
I got a cross around my neck.
Oh, okay. I believe you then.
Okay, awesome. Anything else?
Have you done anything wonderful? Have you done anything miraculous, gracious, merciful towards others? Today?
No.
That's what I thought. You're a fake TikTok troll rage bait
You got me my
Loser.
water.
loser TikTok fake
Loser?
ass Christian.
Can-
Okay,
okay.
I understand.
Are you a real Christian?
I understand completely.
Are you a
Because you
real
have nothing
Christian?
to offer. You have nothing to offer. You're ugly. You're stupid. You probably have a small
Yeah. Okay.
dick,
How much
right?
do you bench?
You probably have a small dick.
Can you hear
so
Than?
you are going to tie your worth to something that is a myth.
John, somebody's saying there's an echo, but I don't know what chat it's in.
So, bro, what have you done lately?
I don't hear an echo.
To prove that you are a Christian, what have you done lately?
Can he hear me?
Can you hear Than?
What have you done lately to
Can
prove
you
that
hear
you are a
Than?
Christian?
Hi, can you hear me?
What have you done?
Can you hear anybody?
What have you done lately to prove that you are a Christian? Show me your power of Christ in you. Show me the power. Show me.
Look at Than. Oh my goodness.
That's their
Wow.
power. Yeah, that's their power. But they never go to Afghanistan to preach to Taliban. They never go to the cartels to stand up to them. They never.
All right, he's gone. That was fun.
Dude
That
wasn't
was
even
fun.
having a conversation. I was just curious to like.
How much he benches?
No, well, I wanted to know why. I guess I wanted to know where you wanted to go with it. Well, also, I guess like for that person's information, I'm not going to say when. I'm not going to say through what entity or anything. But probably this coming spring, I will be going to the Middle East. So,
wow, really?
Ooh.
Yeah.
You'll fit right in.
yeah, for evangelistic purposes.
That's crazy. All right, let's bring up another guest. Oh, no, I guess they didn't want to come up. All right, guys, make sure you're smashing the like button, sharing the live, doing all the things that you need to do for us to get out. We just got off our ban today, so I need help to get back on the algorithm. You can join
New goal acquired.
You can join at tinyurl.com/BigJohnSteel10, password 12345. Let's bring in the next guest.
Hi.
Hold on, slow down. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
I'm 24. I'm about to turn 25. August 19, 2000.
All right, bro. Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Prove us wrong. Win a taco. Go ahead.
No, you are right. I just have a question. What does God mean by say? So I was debating someone, and they said that I'm committing a sin because I'm on the internet, because it said in the Bible, "Do not accept worldly things." What does that verse mean?
Huh?
What does the verse "Do not accept"? Don't give into worldly things. What does that mean? Does that
Even
only
a
talk
Bible
about
verse that actually says that?
Huh?
I don't think there's a verse that actually does say that. Yeah. Chris Killian said John was asking why those people told those people to depart. I'm not too sure, man. I'm not too sure. I apologize.
But is there any evidence that Jesus Christ rose from the dead?
Yeah, there's no Bible verse that says do not accept worldly things. Most of them are just admonishing that, worldly things are just not going to be the source of existential fulfillment, and that your desire and your fidelity is to be to God, not those things.
Okay. Thank you. I don't want to take up your time. I'm a Christian. I do debates too. So thank you.
All right, man. Appreciate you. God bless.
God bless.
Oh, and the other guy left. You're going to hop up in the queue. Stay in the queue, ladies and gentlemen. Stay in the queue. He probably told those people to depart, though, to be honest, simply because it was just time to depart. Okay, where are we at here? All right, guys. Once again, Jesus Christ rose from the dead. If you do not think that happened or you do not believe it's true, come prove us wrong. We will buy you a taco. You can join at tinyurl.com/BigJohnSteel10, password 12345. If again,
It's a really strong password.
strong password, strongest password you're going to get. It's really just to keep the trolls out, because if you don't have a password, then they just spam, and then all of a sudden you got 700 of the same guy who
That makes sense.
who's going to play screaming music that says the N-word. I've had I've got so many trolls, man. So many trolls.
I remember.
Bro, but I don't see it happening. Like I know atheists who use the same program I do, and they don't have any of the same safeguards set up. And I don't see it happening with it. I don't know how they're getting away with it, or if they just don't get as trolled as much. I don't know what's going on.
It's because people don't like you.
I'm
they
very
really
dislikable.
they hate you because they ain't you.
Mm-hmm. Midwest. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you? All right, give me 2 seconds and I'll bring you in.
Great.
All right, bro. Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Prove us wrong, win a taco. And just before you go, Arthur came in with $10. Says, "May the Lord bless you and keep you, gents. Do you ever go live to speak with Christians and answer questions?" From time to time. From time to time, we do. All right, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So, there's a basic logic issue. You can't prove a negative, and that's just logic 101. But I mean, what I would tell you is that this is a faith claim, and you can make any faith claim you want. Now, you can look at what we know, and we know that the oldest gospel is Mark, which was written in a different country in a different language over 40 years after Jesus, supposedly lived. Claim a lot of people want to believe it, but there's just no way to. Again, it's a faith claim. Claims require evidence. There's simply not enough evidence to reach that conclusion. But there's plenty of evidence to suggest there's a lot of coercion, social cohesion, pressure for people in the group to believe that. I was born to an immigrant from a country that's predominant.
Hold on, bro. You're kind of going on a long
Sure.
tangent.
You've made like 20 claims so far, man.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I mean, what do you want to talk about? Because
I'll
like I said, you made like 20 different claims. Do you want to talk about the proving the negative thing? Because you said that's logic 101.
Well, you can't prove a negative, but you can make any faith claim you want. It's something
hold on.
that
can you prove a negative or can you not prove a negative?
How can you not prove it? Look, I don't have
You're
time
the one that
to
said
go
you can't
into
prove
it,
negative.
but
I'm just trying to understand.
I can say that there are no penguins in your room right now with you. Now, can I prove that? No, I can't.
What do you mean by proof?
I can say that there's two guys who.
What do you mean by proof?
I can say that there's two guys who were.
What do you mean by proof?
I mean evidence. What everyone understands is evidence. Verification, absolute verification.
Proof is not evidence. Evidence is not proof. Proof is the conclusion that some theory is 100% certain.
Look,
evidence is probability.
If you guys are under the impression you can prove a negative, then there's no further point of discussion because you can't.
I don't know a single philosopher that would ever say this. Can you just quote me one?
Yeah, David Hume. Look into it.
David Hume never said that.
David Hume did not say you can't prove a negative. In fact,
you can't get an ought from
David
an
Hume's
is.
argument against miracles in general presupposes that you can argue the negative, right?
But you can't prove it. That's the point. You can argue anything you want.
Okay,
you can argue.
I don't care about proof. I don't need 100% certainty.
David Hume wrote an entire argument trying to prove a negative, saying miracles can't happen.
Saying you can't get an ought from an is.
An ought from an is has nothing to do with proving a negative.
You can Google Christopher Hitchens. He went into this exhaustively.
Christopher Hitchens is not a philosopher.
Slogans right now and don't actually know what any of them mean. You guys
are like little kids in a nursery school. You don't have any clue what you're talking about. That's why you're saying prove a negative.
Can you explain to me what the ought is gap is and how that pertains to probabilistic confirmation?
Okay, so the God of the gaps is what everybody tries to.
That is not what you said. You said the ought is gap. You said ought is gap. You said you cannot get an ought from an is. The God of the gaps is a different thing. We can talk about that if you want. You
can't get an is from an ought. I'm sorry, I
don't know what we're talking about. And I'm just asking you a simple question. What is the ought is gap?
The ought is gap is because people ought to be kind to each other. You can't prove that they should absolutely be kind to each other because of because lying to children is immoral.
That is
like
not
telling them that a God exists. You can't prove that it is absolutely immoral.
That is not the ought is gap.
It absolutely is the ought is gap. Okay, I've studied this for years. I've got degrees in it. You guys are mistaken.
Okay, so I apologize. I apologize. So real quick, where'd you get your degree? He left.
I wasn't trying to be a jerk.
No, dude, be a jerk to people who are jerks. If people are jerks, be a jerk.
You're gonna
That's
just
what
throw
Jesus
a bunch
said.
of slogans at me. and then they say I don't know what I'm talking about, and then not use the slogans even in the right. I'm sorry, man. It's just.
How do I call in? You can join at tinyurl.com/Big John Steel 10 Pastor 12345. If you actually answer the poll, you'll see a link there for you to click. So if you click answer the poll, the link will be right there for you to click. And then you can join. If you're watching on TikTok, you can also join through the multi-guest button. And then we can get you up. Today's topic is Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Prove us wrong. Like, we're making affirmative case here that Jesus Christ actually did rise from the dead.
Dude,
not
dog,
just on
can
faith.
You stop snoring. Can you hear that?
No,
it's so loud. Right? So... Sorry. So distracting.
My favorite is when people just say, do your research. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
I'm 56, man.
All right, bro. Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Prove us wrong. Win a taco. Go ahead.
Where is your evidence that Jesus rose from the dead? Other than the eyewitness testimony that you claim to be reliable.
Why do you ask it in such a way? Because when you're saying other than the eyewitness testimony, when you say that, to me that sounds like you're saying
because there's no other evidence than an anecdotal.
Well, yeah, I would not agree with that, but I just want to know what your thoughts are on like the notion of testimony.
Yeah, because I used to be a Christian when I was 20s. I left. I tried to study Bible through the science that I was interested in, and found out a lot of facts, claims in the Bible is untrue.
What
does that have to do with what you think about testimony with regards to the resurrection? We can talk about scientific claims and stuff like that when it comes to the Bible, but like if you're talking about evolution or anything like that, I don't think there's a conflict between evolution and.
Okay, did Jesus believe in the creation, Adam creation stories? Did he believe in Noah's Ark? Did he believe in Abraham?
What do you mean by those stories, though? That's going to be the key point here.
Yeah, what I'm saying is,
well, here's the thing: if it's just the case that in the Second Temple period, that the Jews of the time would have most likely taken the creation story to be a cosmic temple inauguration type deal, rather than like a literal verbatim, here's what God did on day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then yeah, Jesus believed it, but he just didn't interpret it in the same way as modern young earth creationists do. So
you're saying Jesus is not God?
What in the world? Can you explain to me how
what I'm saying is your belief is that Jesus is God, right? He's the creator.
Hold on, just real quick. Hold on, Dan, just one sec. Can you just do me a quick favor and tell me that Muhammad's a false prophet?
I'm not a Muslim. I'm an atheist.
But then you should have no problem saying that Muhammad's a false prophet, right?
Yeah, Muhammad is a false prophet. I can say that.
Okay.
Because I think all God religions are bogus.
Okay.
So I have no problem saying that Islam is a fake religion. I don't have
that's fine.
No
so can we go back? Can we go back to the point where you said that eyewitness testimony is not good enough?
Yeah, I don't think it's good enough, because I know a lot of people in like different ideologies. They're willing to die for their beliefs, but that doesn't make it necessarily true.
Sure. John, I'm not trying to take this over.
No, I want you to take it over, baby.
Okay. Yeah, so there's going to be a difference here. There's a huge difference between Muslims doing what they did on 9/11 for their ideology, and early followers of Jesus dying for the claim or suffering for the claim that they saw the risen Jesus. One is akin to an ideology, right? Like, for instance, you have people that are willing to suffer for political ideologies or socioeconomic ideologies, right? But those aren't going to hold like a truth claim, right? These people in particular, right? These people in particular claim to have seen something and experienced something so profound that they were willing to suffer for it. What that does then is makes it that their testimony is very unlikely to be some sort of made up conspiracy theory.
Yeah, but are you, since you're so sure about that, are you willing to sacrifice your life for it?
I didn't
You
witness the
haven't seen it.
resurrection of Jesus. And yes, I
Yeah,
would be
because you
willing. I
heard it
would
from
be, and
second
yes, I
source,
would be
right?
willing to sacrifice my life.
So why don't you go to like confirmed atheist countries like Iran? I mean, extremist Islamic countries like Iran, which persecute
Well,
Christians. Why
again,
don't you do that?
to be clear, just
If
because
you're
you're
so,
willing to doesn't mean that you're going to seek it. Martyrdom shouldn't be sought after.
yeah, but look at the
But
Bible.
I think you're.
Peter is
I think
constantly
I think
avoiding.
what's happening right now is you're realizing that your argument doesn't work, and you're trying to turn
No, your
the
argument doesn't work
conversation
because
into,
you're
well, why
you're
don't you
saying
do
Jesus is
this?
God, right? You're saying it's Jesus is God. You're laughing and mocking because you believe Jesus is God, and you don't want to dissect that Jesus
Okay,
isn't
so
God.
let's get back to the notion of testimony. I've
Because
explained
science says
why.
the things
I've
that Jesus
explained the difference
believed.
between being willing to die for a political ideology or
I don't
sort of.
care what you die for, right? You can die for a lie, right?
Why are you getting so upset right now?
Because you're trying to move the goalpost. You're
I'm
in
not moving
order
the
for
goalpost. You're the one that moved the goalpost.
Bible
Your
to be a
original argument
reliable
was, hey,
doctrine,
testimony is not
right?
good evidence.
The
People are
claims
willing
has
to
to
suffer
be
for anything.
proven, right?
I said there's a difference between this type of voluntary suffering and this type of voluntary suffering in a way that
Okay, I
renders
get it.
this
I
much.
get it, right? Right. Yeah, Christians were martyred and they suffered. I get all
I'm
that,
actually
right?
totally,
But is it
totally
true?
fine
Is it
not
true?
bringing
That's what
that
I'm
point
trying
up.
to
But
get at. And
let's just
you don't want
pause there for a second.
Just
Or do
blink
you-
3 times when you want to move on.
Oh, I mean, I'm fine. But wait, did he leave or did you?
No, he's still
No,
here.
I didn't leave
Oh.
because you're trying to, I'm trying to bring up this subject. Jesus isn't God, right? Jesus isn't reliable because he believed in things that
Can
has
you,
been
okay,
scientifically
please do me a favor.
debunked,
Do me a
man.
favor. Can we stick to one topic? There's a,
No, you want to stick
there's
to
a
your
very
topic
different,
about
hold on. Why are you getting
because
so
these
emotional,
guys
man?
were
I'm just
willing
trying
to
to
die
have a
for some
reasonable
kind of
conversation.
thing they witnessed, right? You're saying this must be true. That's your argument, right? I totally
I
understand
actually
your
didn't even
argument,
give you an argument
but
yet.
doesn't make it true, man. That's what
You're
I'm
the
trying
one
to
that came
say.
on here and decided to say something like testimony is not reliable or ask a question or something like that.
Yes, it
right?
is because
Okay, why are you
if
jumping
somebody
between the
say I
notion of
have $1 billion
testimony and the
and
notion
you
of
try to
Jesus
prove
being
that he
God?
doesn't
The
have $1 billion,
resurrection could be
do you
true
trust him?
without Jesus being God. So can we just talk about the resurrection evidence?
There is no resurrection evidence other
Is
than the
testimony
claims.
evidence?
There is no other than the claim in the Bible, man. You're laughing because you know you guys are what is that? Cognitive dissonance, man. You don't want to listen to logic and facts. You just want
Bro,
faith,
I am
right?
begging you for logic and facts.
Yeah, what's your
Please
logic other
give
than the
me some
claim?
logic and
Where's the
facts.
evidence
Like,
that
I'm
Jesus came
starving
back?
for it. Will you give it to me?
No, it's on you because you said that there is evidence. Where's the evidence other than these fanatical Christians willing to die for their beliefs? I totally get that.
Are you saying?
I think it's
that?
historically true that they died for their beliefs, right? But what?
All right, he's gone. Christian Killian came in $5. Have either of you seen the Christian woman versus Muslim woman video on the channel on Dr. J show? It's a dissimilar to a Jubilee video. Yes, I watched a bit of it. I'm gonna react to it tomorrow probably.
Wait, what is it?
So tune in for that. A Christian women versus Muslim women.
Dude,
conversation.
the answer to that question, if it's ever for me, is unless you've asked me to watch it specifically, probably not.
Yeah.
I don't really watch content.
Gabriel came in $5. These reasons for leaving Christ are so shallow, it's heartbreaking and embarrassing at the same time. You know what I'm gonna do if I'm ever on trial? If I ever schmurder someone and I'm on trial for schmurder, and they bring in the murder weapon, I'm like, do you have any other evidence besides the murder weapon? Do you have any other? Like, that's all I'm gonna do for an argument.
Well,
just
look. If he was gonna be willing to just concede that that's evidence, I would have gone to modern day miracle claims in Jesus' name.
He wasn't gonna concede anything.
Oh, I know, but that's why I didn't go there because I knew it would be a waste of time.
All right, let's bring up another guest. Ned, hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you? All right, just give me 2 seconds and I'll bring you in. All right, man. Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Prove us wrong. Win a taco. Go ahead.
I don't need a taco, but I'm Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I don't think Jesus resurrected is because he was not God. And we believe that God cannot die.
Yeah. So I know what Muslims believe, right? Now just saying he is
Yes.
not God doesn't change anything. Could God raise someone from the dead?
Yes, of course, but you
Right.
have
So
to,
God
yeah,
could raise
the
someone from the
previous.
dead. So God could raise someone from the dead. So it doesn't matter if Jesus
God,
was God.
God
That
can
what
do everything.
doesn't.
That's true. That's true. But
So
the fact
hold
is,
on. It doesn't matter if
Christians.
Jesus. Hold on. I got OCD. If I don't finish my sentence, I'm going to have an internal combustion. So yeah, if Jesus now I'm lost. All right. So yeah, Jesus doesn't have to be God to raise from the dead. Right. So the topic at hand is Jesus Christ rose from the dead, and you just saying, well, he's
All
not
right.
God, isn't an argument for
Yeah,
anything.
that's true. You're right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the previous speaker, he was talking about that he was to bring facts, and you said, yeah, bring some facts. Well, the first thing we need to see is the sources. Okay, we have the Bible, but we know that the Bible has been rewritten, and the earliest
Really?
manuscript of
Really?
the
Hold on. The
Bible.
whole Bible was rewritten?
Yeah, what do you mean
Yes,
by
the Bible.
rewritten when you're saying this? Like,
Well, that some things are added after Jesus.
okay, can you add things that are true?
It's not about you can add things if those are true or not. It's more like the Bible. It says it's from God. Everyone believes the
No, it
Bible is from
doesn't.
God.
No, the Bible is not from God in the same way that Muslims believe the Quran is from God.
Okay, so Christians don't
So
believe that the
you have to
Bible
be
is from
careful because
God.
this is something I run into a lot with Muslims. Muslims tend to inject their
No, no,
own
it's not what I
views on
say. It's what
scripture.
Christians say. They say the Bible is from God. That's why I
Right.
say it. It's
What do we
my
mean when we say that, though? Do you know what Christians believe about scripture, its origins, or anything like that?
yeah. You can tell me
I'm asking you if you know.
what Christians believe.
Yes, about the
Yeah.
origins of scripture, the inspiration of scripture.
The inspirational scripture. Well, I don't know for sure because my English is also not so very good. So maybe you can explain me so I can.
All right,
Yeah.
just before you guys go, Eric Barlow came in $5 says, wait, he said Jesus isn't God and God cannot die, so he wasn't resurrected. Does that mean Jesus is God? He kind of that's kind of a gotcha there.
Funny.
And Wappa Chop, one of my favorites. Try not to judge atheists too harshly. A lot of us follow the principles in the Bible. We just struggle with supernatural claims. Don't tell me what to do, Wappa Chop. Jesus told me to judge and be
Wop
mean.
I don't. I actually I sympathize a lot with atheists or anybody that doesn't believe. It's just if you come to me and act like a jerk,
Yeah.
then I'm not very sympathetic.
I don't
That's all.
sympathize. Bunch of idiots, morons,
Oh my
buffoons.
gosh.
Go
Anyway,
ahead. Go ahead, guys.
I know I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So Christians, we
The
believe,
origin.
right? We're not like Muslims. We don't believe that the Quran was handed down from an angel to a prophet. We believe that God inspired the authorship of the scriptures and even the editing of the scriptures and supervised all of those things. And so there's not really an issue. Even if there was an issue there, it's not really going to be an argument against the resurrection of Jesus anyway, because so like let's just say somebody tampered with scripture and you have a view of inspiration that is not compatible with that. Big deal. We're not here to debate whether or not scripture is inspired. You are here to tell me that Jesus did not rise from the dead. So back to my original question, independent of your own worldview, right? Can somebody add something to a text that is still true?
If someone adds something to a text, then it's not true anymore because then he can also add his own opinion or his own point of view for something, and that can
That
be
doesn't
wrong.
mean that it's not true. So for instance, let's just say John wrote a letter that said on 7/28, 10:59 Central Time, Jon Than was talking to a Muslim on a YouTube stream. And then later on, I added in there, the Muslim made me feel really frustrated. I added in my own opinion. And also, it just happens to be true that my opinion is true, like describing a true fact about how I felt at the time, right?
Yeah, but the thing I don't understand is Jesus says in the Bible that there's only one God and the only true God.
Okay,
All
we're
those
not talking
sentences
about
that
that right now. Don't
are,
sidestep the
yeah.
question.
Muslim
So
shuffle.
can you add something that's true to something that was not originally there? Most people will bring up Mark's gospel, for instance, and that's fine. We have the long ending of Mark. We don't really know what's happening there. That's totally fine. But are the traditions there at least authentic? I think they are.
Well, to me, no, you cannot add something that is true because then it's not the Bible anymore. You add something, you know. When the
Scott,
Bible
you're
is the
thinking
Bible,
about
you don't
theology
temper with
right
it.
now, man. Get
You
out of the
stay
world
like
of
it is.
theology and just think about history, okay? Stop thinking about inspiration, whether or not something is the infallible word of God. I'm just trying to come at this from a neutral perspective of, is this document in the claims that it's making historically reliable?
Again,
Again, what are you asking for? Sorry.
could you repeat what you said?
I'm asking you to stop inserting theology into this, okay? Fine.
All right.
I'll just grant for sake of debate right now, okay? If somebody added something into the inspired word of God, the original thing that Mark wrote, right? Fine, big deal. This does not mean that Jesus did not rise from the dead. It does not mean that whatever happened or whatever was inserted doesn't reflect an actual historical thing in like event in history.
Okay, so you say if someone died and someone added up that he died, so he just added the truth, like what happened, that's possible. But okay, yeah, that can be true. But the thing is, did he die? That's the first question we have to ask. Did he die?
Well,
Okay.
Before we can add something that's the truth or not, we have to make sure that it is the
yeah, yeah.
truth
So
before it's gonna be added up.
just real quick about the did he die thing, right? The scholarly consensus across the
Well,
board.
he's going to appeal to the Quran.
Yeah, I know, but that's fine. The
Yes,
scholarly
sure.
consensus across the board all says that Jesus Christ died. Why should I believe that he didn't?
Why? Because you believe. Do you believe Jesus is God or not?
It's not the question I'm asking.
Yeah, but
Dude, can you
that's why when
okay,
my
please.
answer
Hey,
is
just for
on
really
the
quickly, man.
question I asked.
Hey, forget everything that any Dawa guy has ever taught you, okay? Lose the
No
script.
one
Just
taught me
have a
nothing, to
real
be honest. But
conversation with
okay.
us.
All right. So the question again is why should I believe when again across the board the scholarly consensus is that Jesus Christ died on the cross, right? There's nobody who really contends this. There's a few minor off-end people, but the vast majority all say that Jesus Christ died on the cross. The evidence is overwhelming on this, and we can go through all the evidence if you want to. Why should I believe that Jesus Christ didn't die on the cross?
I can only say what I believe for you because you say why should I don't believe that Jesus didn't die on the cross? What I can say is that people claimed that Jesus had died on the cross, but what I believe is that he was risen by God before he died on
Right.
the cross. So
I know what Muslims
Why should we
believe.
believe that?
Yeah.
why you should believe that is because he is the Messiah. He's the chosen one, and he will come back to kill the
Yeah,
Antichrist.
you're talking about a dogma, right? A theological belief. We're asking historically when
But you
all
also
the
believe he's the
hold
Messiah,
on,
right?
hold on,
That's
let me finish my question.
yeah.
Historically, when all the evidence points to the fact that Jesus Christ died on the cross, why should I deny it?
Because the Jews, they didn't believe in Jesus. They said he's not
Yeah,
from
that's
God.
why they
He's not
hung
the
him up on the
Messiah.
cross.
So
Okay,
that's one thing. We now know
dude,
Jesus.
do
The
you know
Jews.
who the original followers of Jesus were?
Yeah, of course.
Were they Jews?
They were Jews.
Okay,
But
cool.
but
Can
the
we
thing
move
is,
on?
if you say the original followers of Jesus are Jews, where does the word Christian come from?
It
Why
comes
weren't
from a
there already
derogatory statement
Christians
of people that were
for
followers of the way.
Jesus?
and then they adopted that derogatory statement. The word Christians was supposed to be was originally a derogatory statement of people that were followers of the way. Followers of the way were people that were followers of Jesus Christ. They adopted that derogatory statement.
All right, but you know that we as Muslims, we believe in Jesus as well,
I
right?
don't care what you as Muslims believe. I care about what the evidence says.
But what evidence? Give me the evidence and the sources of the evidence, because I didn't hear any sources right now.
Just blink 3
Well,
times.
I just want a source. If you give me some sources, I can look it up. Then I can say,
Sure.
okay, you give
Matthew,
me
Mark,
evidence.
Luke, and
But-
John, and the Book of Acts.
Well, I don't know who Mark,
within these
John,
these
and
four
Matthew
these four
are.
sources, we have
Because-
21 unique testimonies from individual people.
No, they are
that
anonymous
span
because
across
we don't know
40
their
days.
names. Their names, we only know their first names. We don't know where they came from.
Wait. Hold on.
where
Okay,
they were
Hold on.
born.
Hold on.
Don't know their
Let me touch on
family
this.
tree.
Hold on.
All those things.
Hold
are
on.
important.
We only know their first names. Okay. How many people back then do we know their last names?
How many?
Yeah.
Well,
Wait,
it's very
do you-
easy. The line
wait,
of three
wait, stop,
always
stop,
goes
stop.
to the
Wait,
name of the father.
wait.
So it's
Hold on.
always-
Let him see if he let him see if he answers this. How many people
Yeah, all right.
from Second
No
Temple
problem.
Judaism can you give me their last name?
There is no last name. They use the name of their father.
So why are you saying we don't know the last names of the
Well,
authors
the
of the
family
traditional?
tree. It's the same. I
what?
meant family tree. It's not about the last name. It's more about the family tree. So the family tree is always like this: son of, son of, son of, son of. So we know, okay, this is the family tree. We don't even know their family tree. And
So
that's one
what?
thing. The second thing is the first manuscript, full manuscript that we
Wait,
have.
no, stop.
It's in Greek.
So what?
Okay. So
That's
hold
important. Those are
on.
sources.
If you have a problem with
this
hold on.
as
If you have a problem
sources.
with the family tree, right? Now one thing that you would confirm is you confirm the prophets and everybody that came before in the Old Testament, right?
I acknowledge the prophets that came in the Old Testament. Yes.
Phenomenal. Can you give me the
I
family
believe in all
tree
those
of all
prophets.
can you give me the family tree of all the old prophets? So maybe for example, even of like the high priest Melchizedek?
Well, I'm in a car right now. It's very dangerous for me to Google or search the sources on my phone. You can do it
Uh-oh.
if you want to.
There
Alright,
is
well-
no
It's
family
easy. You're
tree for
in front of the
Melchizedek.
PC, so you can see the
That's the
family
answer.
tree of
I'll
the
give you the
previous
answer. There is no
prophets.
family tree.
They are there. They are there.
Melchizedek does not have a family tree. That's his whole point.
Well, search the prophets and the family trees, and you will find the family trees from Abraham.
I appreciate your
Isaac,
time. I'm gonna jump
from
on.
David.
If
You
your
will
answer
see
is Google
the-
it, I'm gonna move on. But thank you for your time, guys.
No, it's not just Google it. I mean,
Also sounds like he was driving.
Literally is. Oh, he was. I didn't even register that. All right, let's hopefully we get
Is it-
a good one.
Like this? Normally
Constantly,
done?
yes, yeah.
Oh my god.
This is my job, Than. This is how I make my living. Welcome to my world.
My resting heart rate is typically like mid 40s. It's 94 right now.
Good for you.
Yeah, that's great.
That's really good, man. That's good for you. Mid 40s is a great resting heart rate.
No, I bring that up to show you the drastic difference in my heart rate.
Little humble brag.
A little humble
Man.
brag, yeah. All right, let's bring in another guest. Guys, if you want to join, we believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead. If you could prove us wrong, we'll buy you a taco. tinyurl.com/BigJohnSteel10. If you can't read that, it's password 12345. I was wondering if you were going to make it. Modern Atheism. I'll just bring you right in. Than, do you know Modern Atheism?
Yeah, we've talked before.
Awesome.
What's going on, man?
Hi, what's up?
Living a dream.
Do you know, I just happen to have a big debate on the resurrection. Do you know a channel called Faith Because of Reason? The guy is called David Palman.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine.
Yeah, I'm debating. I've been talking to him a lot, and we are supposed to debate the resurrection tomorrow. So this is a great.
Well, you're going to
opportunity.
lose.
Yeah, I know. Maybe, probably because the guy is very good. He just made a big video on the 6 hours long, and he responds to most common skeptics complains about it. It's very good.
Yeah, I haven't watched the video because I don't have 6 hours to watch. But
Yeah.
knowing David, it's probably good. But
Yeah.
also because David uses the same type of arguments that I do, so I'm naturally inclined to think that they're good arguments.
Oh, really? Okay, then this will be, in that case, this will be good practice here for tomorrow. So here's the thing, like when atheists want to make a negative case about the Gospels, right? They usually say like the same three things. They say, oh, the Gospels are late, they are anonymous, they have contradictions, right? And I hope maybe we can talk about those later, especially the contradictions. I hope we have time to get into those. But for me, the main reason why I will adopt the resurrection, like my main argument, it will be a basic David Hume kind of argument on simply like the resurrection is just too extraordinary to believe based on testimony. I think that will be my first line of arguments.
Does Hume argue that it's too hard to believe based off testimony, or does Hume just make the argument that miracles
he makes
can't
an argument
exist
from
at all?
testimony itself. Well, he makes a few arguments, but one of the things he says that he doesn't say it in Bayesian terms, but basically just that that testimony would never be enough to render belief in a miracle rational.
Okay, I was just curious. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as to say that it can never theoretically be enough, but I would say that like generally it's not enough, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah, that was going to be my first question. Are you taking that strong interpretation? But it sounds like you're not. So cool. Right. Okay. Well, from there, I'm just going to ask you to justify the low prior then.
The low prior. Okay. Yes. Okay. I think it may be a bit of a difficult question. If it's okay, I would like to ask you with a counter question. If I tell you that I saw a man flying, right? I think, will you believe me or not? Can you justify a man having a low probability, the low prior of a man being flying in the air? Can you like really justify it, like philosophically, rigorously, in a rigorous way?
Yeah, yeah, and the reason why is because I have no good reason to anticipate a random man being able to fly around in the sky.
Okay.
There's nothing in my background knowledge that would inform me of something like that happening, unless you contextualize it in a way that, you know, theism would predict such a thing or whatever. But like, you're just kind of giving me a contextually unbounded, independent testimony that some dude was flying in, defying the laws of physics.
Sure. Okay, I would say the same. I would say that I don't have a good reason to expect a man to be able to work miracles or resurrect for the dead.
Sure. The issue there is going to be, I would disagree with that. I think we have very good reasons for thinking that conditional on theism, if God exists,
right,
I think there's a very decent probability that God would become incarnate and vindicate that incarnation through something like a resurrection.
Just before you go, Modern Atheism, Low Flame came in $1.99. Any great books on metaphysics and epistemology? Probably the Christian. What is a
Bible? I'm just kidding. Philosophical Foundations for Christian Worldview is it's always going to be a decent start when you're wanting to get into these things for the first time.
Sure.
All right, go ahead, guys.
Okay, what I would say to that is I think I can grant you even deism, like even the idea of a God that created the universe. I think I could grant you that. And even then, I think it doesn't make the resurrection, it doesn't push it into the realm of highly likely. I don't see any a priori reasons why the first thing God will choose to approach humanity like that will be to become incarnate, as opposed to why not send a bunch of prophets? Why not speak to each person individually? Why not write?
Why not both?
Yeah, but why that specifically incarnating?
Yeah, I mean, here's a good example, right? Do you think it to be a virtuous and good thing, for instance, when, say, a military leader goes into the fray with his men?
Well, it depends. Maybe at some point I would say no. He's taking a dumb risk.
Right, but you would still consider it to be an admirable thing to do, right?
If you say, yeah, maybe he's courageous, but if it's too dangerous for him, then maybe not.
Well, yeah.
Maybe,
Look, it's not going to be a one-to-one correspondence. I can give you tons of these intuition pumps, right? Another one that I can point to is if you've ever played sports, there's this idea of conditioning, and there seems to be this like relational bond that can happen when two people are going through a sucky situation together, right?
Right.
It somehow makes things relatable within each other in a way that propositions can't aid in a way of forming a relationship. And so like, the main point I'm just trying to make here is that
okay.
you can find a ton of these instances where something like becoming incarnate is actually going to instantiate a type of good and virtue and admirability and relationality between God and his creation in a way that an incarnation is going to best exemplify. So I mean, I'll stop there, and so I don't ramble. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think maybe there are some good things about it. Like if you think about it a posteriori, you can rationalize all kinds of things to say, yeah, this is good because of this. But was it really the best possible thing to do? Like a priori, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not sure. You know what I mean? It's like another possibility was just as equally likely, and maybe it would have also had some good aspects.
Well, that's fine. I don't have to say this is exactly what God would do. All I need to say is, hey, this seems like one of the best kinds of actions that God can do. Right.
Yeah, and it seems to me that's
so,
one of
so
the
long as that's
okay.
so long as that's even within this dartboard, analogously speaking, then it's going to be it's going to raise the prior.
Okay, I don't want to spend like all the time of this. That's very interesting. I think that's super interesting. What's the prior of the resurrection? But I will say this: it also has negative aspects to it, or things that will lower the probability. For example, the fact that it didn't end up doing it in this way, getting incarnate in history 2,000 years ago in a remote area, in a way that only some people got to see him firsthand.
I mean, I actually think
many
I
people.
think what you're saying right now is a double-edged sword. Because what you're pointing to is divine hiddenness, right?
Yeah,
and
that's right. On religious confusion, and that's right.
What? Say it again.
It will be divine hiddenness and the argument from religious confusion. You will be like indirectly making that argument, and I think all of these arguments, like that gets
right. So, well, here's the problem. This flips on the head, because basically what you're arguing right now is that, well, given God's existence, I'm going to expect a divine revelation. Well,
maybe
here's what ends up happening is that raises the prior probability of the resurrection.
No, because I do
now
the
resurrection, the incarnation and resurrection are going to be a type of divine revelation, is it not?
Yes, sure. I will expect a kind of divine revelation, but not. I wouldn't expect it in that way. I will expect him to try to convince more than 27% or 30% of the population.
Yeah, and then all that's going to do is we can talk about the argument from religious confusion if you want to, but what that's going to end up doing is it's going to presuppose some sort of value theory that I'm just going to disagree with, because I'm not a utilitarian. So I don't think that utilitarian ethics are matching or congruent with our experiences of reality. And so because of that, I think God's existence isn't going to predict something where there is no religious confusion. I think instead what it's going to predict is some sort of narrative unfolding story where things like religious confusion and divine hiddenness and suffering are all going to be part of the story, but we all kind of co-create the narrative alongside with God. Hence why I think the fact that it's not just the fact that Jesus rose from the dead, but it's also going to be the fact that Jesus established a church, and it's the church that is bringing heaven on earth through cooperation with God and all these other things. I think that matches very neatly with what I would expect given God's existence.
Okay, I don't want to get too off topic, so yeah, I'm just gonna grant you that point. Sure, that's interesting. Maybe one can talk about that in detail at some other point. But then I would like to move on. Or what is your positive evidence for it? Why should we accept?
Before you say like let's just move on to the positive evidence, you're kind of like just ignoring a really important thing here. Like to your prior to your prior belief. whether or not you're going to believe in a resurrection is super important, because if your priors are so freaking low that we literally show you Jesus Christ in front of us, here he is, and he says, yep, I rose from the dead, and then he disappears and reappears again. If your priors are so low that you wouldn't even believe that, it doesn't matter what evidence that we bring forward. So I think it's very important that we establish what would entail as good evidence in the first place. And the best way to do that is to discuss why your priors are so low and where they are.
Yeah, I know. I mean, what can I say? What I can say to that is, for me, okay, the resurrection of Jesus, like you say, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens in a specific context, as you say, with the flying man. But the context is Judaism. Now, do we have any evidence a priori, like ignoring all of the Jesus stuff, right? Aside from that, do we have any good evidence that Judaism is the right religion, like before Jesus?
Let's just say this. Let's just say that we've found 1 million documents in history. No, we can see none of them have all been altered. We can confirm it to all come from the original author, right? And they all say that they personally witnessed Jesus Christ rise from the dead. Would at this point you concede that Jesus Christ did rise from the dead?
Okay, personally, okay, if I'm going to be honest, I will think that Jesus Christ somehow managed to pull off an amazing scam and fool all those people. If you ask me, I will be honest. I have to be honest and tell you that's my response. And maybe you think this is close-minded. Maybe I agree. I understand.
Well,
right?
what I'm saying is that your priors are so low that us even discussing whether or not Judaism is the right religion in the first place is a non sequitur. It's not going to get us anywhere. What we have to figure out is if you have a consistent epistemology, if you have consistent standard across the board, if you're really actually holding to this idea that, hey, we don't see resurrections happen, so therefore it's so low, right? Like, what is the reason that you're going to say that the probability is so low? We need to know this before we move on.
Yeah, well, this will take a lot of time to get into detail, but I will say, in principle, Christianity for me at some point has so many absurdities, right? So many problems and stuff that at some point the cumulative case against it is just too big. And I think one will have to include that into the prior. But I think getting into that's a huge discussion, right? So I wanted to discuss the resurrection because it's like more into the topic, but it's okay if you, I understand.
Well, that's going to be one of the problems here. Modern atheism, right, is you're bringing old evidence into the question and presuming them into your background knowledge. Does that make sense?
No, I don't see which evidence am I bringing into the. What do you mean?
You're bringing in all these absurdities with Christianity, and you're saying, right? Which I when you say that word, most of the time when I run into people that say there's a bunch of these absurdities, it's really just, hey, there's this thing that I have an incredulous attitude towards, but no good reason to have that incredulous attitude.
No, the reason is intuitively, I just think it's unlikely. This is really like my reason. Like you say before.
Yeah, but incredulity doesn't, your incredulity towards something doesn't tell us whether something's unlikely. Like, imagine the first time anybody ever discovered that an amoeba can reproduce asexually when you cut it in half.
Right.
That would be absurd to the person that had no clue about how these things work.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
So we have to be really careful not to take our attitudes about something and mix that up with reasons to think something has a low prior probability.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. No, I accept you. I get what you mean. I think I just think that they going into deeply into what's the prior for the resurrection. It will take too much time, really. I know if it's okay. If it's okay, maybe you could present like.
I understand why you want to move off the topic, and I think the big reason is that you want to move off is because you don't really have a standard here to say, hey, why my priors are so low. And I get it, man. I'm not trying to get you in a corner. Maybe I'm trying to prep you for your debate. You might come at you a little bit harsher too. But I think again, there's 0 point in moving into evidence, because if I can confirm all the gospels are true, if I can confirm that we can trust the entire Old Testament, if I can confirm literally everything in the Bible, throw it in front of you and say, yep, this is all true. We can see it in history. You're just gonna conclude that it was just a magic trick. Why?
Okay. I'm just gonna do this to grant you that if you can confirm that all of the gospel is reliable, then I will accept the resurrection, right? For the sake of the argument, I will say that. So what? Maybe we can move on to to the evidence why
hold
should
on.
they take
What do
this.
you? I want to know what you mean there really quickly, because my argument in people like David Paulman, we're not going to argue the Gospels are reliable, therefore the resurrection happened.
Okay.
Right? Because the argument is more so the Gospels are reliable, and I use the word reliable over there really generically. Therefore, we have access to what the original alleged eyewitnesses to the resurrected Jesus actually said. We've eliminated the grounds of legendary embellishment and stuff like that out of the mix.
Right. I will be curious on which argument do you want to eliminate. And by the way, the reason I wanted to move on is not because I cannot answer what you said before. It's because tomorrow's debate, we're going to touch on the argument of Martimon, on the contradictions, on the authorship of the Gospels, and so on. And so I wanted to cover these topics like a bit. But it's okay if you want. If you think we need.
I'm not in charge here, man. Daddy John.
Okay, for the sake of our friendship, I'd be okay to move into the gospel reliability. Okay. But like if I was gonna press you on, like if I was gonna like debate you today, I would not let you move past this topic. Just so you know, and he might not tomorrow as well. Like if Than's saying he argues similar to himself, he might get you to go into priors, and so it's up to you. If you want to jump on, we can jump on.
Sure. No, if you really press me, I will say what are the Judaism, right? Doesn't look like a priority. If you don't know anything about Jesus made, does the Bible, the Old Testament, look? Do we have proof that this comes from God? Because otherwise, the probability of Judaism being true is the same as the orders, the one for the other religions. And that's
why do we need it? Why do we need the text to come from God?
Well, because why would God incarnate into a false religion? You know what I mean? God incarnated into Judaism.
Hold on. Then the negation of inspiration does not entail the falsity of the religion.
If the religion claims inspiration, then it does.
You can because that the inspiration would just be an auxiliary theory.
What if I don't know what the auxiliary? You mean like not part of the core claim of the religion?
Correct. All theories have cores and auxiliaries.
Yeah, I don't think inspiration is proposed as an auxiliary theory the way they are.
Hold on, guys, just real quick. Baby,
Yeah.
you're my best friend.
I know.
I love you so much. Thank you.
You're my best friend too.
Yeah.
Imagine not being best friends.
What is
that?
Wait, what does he say? He calls his wife his best friend. Absolute feminine behavior. Man, imagine having like such a hard time with your masculinity that you have to be like, feminine behavior.
He wants to debate me on whether or not I'm a simp.
Go touch grass, dude. It's so annoying. Like, sorry. I'm sorry. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. It's honestly pathetic. Go listen to Andrew Tate and Manosphere BS and go be alone.
Okay, but if I'm going to,
I'm sorry. Modern atheism, that triggered me. Okay, I cannot stand this macho nonsense.
It's nonsense. I'm gonna do a red pill debate one day.
Gosh.
All right, guys, go ahead. Historical reliability of the Gospels.
Okay, sure. So what are like some positive reasons you will offer for us to say, okay, we can believe those ancient narrations from a superstitious age that describe such extraordinary events? Why should we believe those?
Well, you sound like you're asking about the resurrection again, not reliability of the.
Okay, no. Okay, yeah. Okay, sure.
Yeah, it sounds like you're going back into the priors.
No. I mean, like, you want to move into reliability of the gospel, right? Yes.
Well, when you say why should we believe it, right? That's going into the priors. So the thing is, like, we could say that looking at the Gospels, that there's enough evidence, and extra biblically, there's enough evidence to say that Jesus Christ was crucified. Now, some scholars, quite a few scholars, argue that doesn't make the Gospels reliable. Me and Than take a positive case that it is reliable. And so if you're willing to, like you said, for the sake of argument, you're willing to concede that if we can actually prove them to be reliable, we have a case to say that Jesus Christ actually resurrected. Unless, again, you want to go back into the priors and say even that wouldn't convince you.
Okay, yeah. No, I don't want to go back on that discussion. No, sure. So what will be your argument for the reliability of the Gospels?
Well, I mean, so for me, I argue for something called the historical reportage model. And the basic idea is that the Gospels and Acts were written by people that were close to the times and places of the events they allege to report on. This does not entail traditional authorship, but traditional authorship is a easy way to get into that. And I also argue that the gospel authors did not feel the freedom to make up or change facts for their theological or social rhetorical goals.
Okay, how do you know that?
That's the model of the Gospels and Acts that I work with. Evidence for that is going to be undesigned coincidences, consistent character traits, stuff like that. Embarrassing details, consistent things. If you look at the synoptics in John and the book of Acts 2, you're going to find semblances of interdependence, dependence, and independence, which fits fairly neatly with what you'd expect to see on that model. And then I'm going to point to other external corroborations that are very expected on the condition that the historical reportage model is true, and extremely surprising on a skeptical model. That's broadly speaking what I would do.
Well, but as far as I know, modern scholars don't really grant early dating or traditional authorship.
Do you know? Well, yeah, I mean, I don't really care if just because some scholars don't grant it. Like, what's the reason why they don't?
Well, yeah, I understand your point. Like, it will be just a weak argument from authority, right?
But it's not about authority. It's about their epistemology, right? So one of the reasons that they don't grant an early dating is because of the appeal to analogy. Appeal to analogy basically states that if we don't see it happening today, then we can't say it happened 1,000 years ago. So when Jesus predicts the destruction of the temple, they cannot say that he predicted the destruction of the temple. So the earliest they can go to is 70 AD when the destruction happened, because they'd have to say that they had prior knowledge, they had background knowledge of the destruction before they put it.
Oh wait, were you bringing up the dating of the Gospels or traditional authorship, or both?
No, both. I just wanted to make the point that modern biblical scholars do not consider those things to be established, that the Gospels were early and written by eyewitness. They don't consider, they disagree with that.
I would talk to those scholars and dispute the evidence, but I would also just argue that biblical scholarship is riddled with horrible epistemology and methodology, and they have axioms that are fundamentally informing the way they go about things in such a way that gets them to false conclusions. A textbook example that I always bring up about this is that New Testament scholarship tends to have the axiom, near axiom, right? It's not, I'm using that almost pejoratively here. They have this axiom that the gospel authors were just making up stuff for the sake of their social, rhetorical, theological goals. The textbook example I always go to is they say that, say what?
I said, okay, Dan McClellan. Go ahead.
Yeah. The textbook example I always go to is people will always say, well, John moved the date of the crucifixion to present Jesus as the Passover lamb. He disagrees with the synoptics. Right. The reason why is because he wanted to do the Passover lamb thing, right?
Yeah, he also moved
hear me out.
Okay. Sorry, okay.
All the modern scholars, okay, that know Greek will say this. They'll put this pen to paper and then just completely gloss over the fact that John actually uses the word paraskevi for the date of the crucifixion, which is the Greek word for Friday.
That's such a fun word. Say it again.
Paraskevi.
Paraskevi. Paraskevi.
Right. But what? So the point here, though, is
shut up,
they to the critical scholar, the prior probability that they're making up a fact is so high that they don't even feel the need to check the Greek text.
Right. I see.
So does that point to the reason I'm bringing this up is when people say, well, a lot of scholars will say X, Y, Z. That's fine. Show me the arguments and tell me why. Because at the end of the day, if the field is riddled with issues like that, I'm not going to put too much stock in what they say.
Okay. Yeah. So let's see. So maybe we can look at some arguments.
Also, can I just touch real quick on scholarship? Yeah. Trying to Lydia McGrew's husband. What's his name again? Tim McGrew. So Tim McGrew makes this point in one of his lectures where he talks about the difference between like historical context and biblical context, biblical studies, there's a certain criteria in historical studies that the Bible actually meets. But for some reason, the biblical studies is a different criteria and it doesn't line up. So he makes this argument for like original authorship. He goes through a whole bunch of evidences, and again, we can dive into that, for original authorship. And he says, when you're looking at the historical criteria, if you're looking in this other field, it'd be set and done. It'd be locked in because of their criteria. But for some reason in biblical studies, it's not locked in and it's not good enough and it's not good enough evidence. And this would be like an example of a problem in epistemology in a specific field. So you have two areas that are technically doing something very similar. They're studying history, but for some reason in one area, the criteria is met, but in the other, the criteria isn't. Why is that? Well, I think it's fundamentally a problem, again, with their epistemology, which was Dan was saying.
Yeah, okay, sure, fair enough. So maybe we can look at one argument they use, for example, Bart Ehrman. If you have ever watched one of Bart Ehrman's debates, you know that his main case is, oh, that's great. You know that he always makes a big deal about contradictions. That's always like a big part of his argument, that they have contradictions, and that's why they're unreliable. So maybe if that's okay, we can talk a bit about the contradiction in the resurrections narrative, like in the empty tomb story. Is that okay? Is that okay for you?
Yeah, so I want to ask this just if we prove there were no contradictions, would that be enough to prove that they're historically reliable?
Oh, that's a good question. I think you have a short making that question when you ask an atheist. I think, look, the way I see things here, contradictions are not a necessary condition for something to be false, but there are sufficient conditions. What I mean is a text can be false and still have no contradictions. But if a text has contradictions, then it logically follows that it is false. You know what? Because the contradiction cannot be true. Do you know? Does that explain what I think?
Kind of, but
yeah,
I don't think it answers.
Because
I don't think it answered my question though. If we did show that there were no contradictions, would that at that point show that it is historically reliable text?
Okay, yeah, sure. No, well, I mean, honestly, I would still say the events are too extraordinary to believe, right? But that will get us back to the same discussion, right? We have earlier. Like, is this what are the priors? Why exactly is this event?
Well, no. I don't think you'd have to grant that they're too extraordinary to believe, right? Because we could say they're historically reliable, but they use certain types of motif and language to talk about normal things in an extravagant way. That's fine. The only question I'm asking is like, are they historically reliable?
And they just hallucinated?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, I'm just asking if we showed that contradictions, like if we went through every single contradiction and we gave a sufficient enough answer for it, at that point, would you then say Gospels are historically reliable, but the priors are still so low, or for some reason they're using different types of language, or they hallucinated, or there's some other reason that they're saying Jesus Christ rose from the dead?
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, so if they... I think we have a different definition of reliable here, because if they use what you say, motives and exaggerated language, right? But I don't see how is that different from like unreliable, you know? I don't really understand the thing.
Well, so for example, Jesus often uses parables. Parables didn't actually happen in history, but that wouldn't change the historical reliability. So it could be possible that in the ancient Near East, they used like apocalyptic language when describing Jesus. So they're not saying that he actually died and rose from the dead. They're using some sort of apocalyptic language, but it could still be historically reliable.
Right, but do you think something like an allegory or a poem, do you think this has one can say this is reliable or not? I don't think about a poem. I don't think one can say the poem is reliable or not reliable, because it's not even supposed to saying something happened. It has no like a proposition can have a truth value, but something poetic or hyperbolic or motive, it cannot have a truth value in the same way. Like you cannot say it's reliable or unreliable. If I make a poem, how can you say the poem is reliable or not?
There's a conflation that's happening here that happens all the time. There's a distinction to be made between, are the texts themselves reliable in the sense that they are actually representing properly what the people on the ground floor were actually saying, and there's a question of, are the things that the people on the ground floor what they were saying true? Right. So you're right. The evidential value of reliability of a parable or a poem is going to be different than the evidential value of a testimony that's claiming to report an actual historical event. But that's glossing over this other distinction to be made between whether or not the Gospels are actually representing what was actually being said on the ground floor.
Let me address this real quick. The lore wizard says John is trying to back him, say the language of the Bible is. No, I'm saying he could make that argument and they'd still be reliable. I'm not making that claim. I'm not saying it's exaggerated. Yeah, so it could be the fact that all the original authors were liars, but it's still we could still have like a historical reliable document.
Okay, great. Now, to answer your question, even if you show me that there were no contradiction, I think you will still need to make an argument to eliminate why they didn't lie. I think you will still need to. I will still ask, okay, but why?
Well,
how
no, but
they
be sorry to cut you off, but they would be historically reliable, but they'd just be liars.
Okay, when I don't see
well,
how
the
that
authors,
makes sense.
yeah.
Really.
So if they're reliable and in the historical reportage model is true, they're not liars, right? But it's still possible that the testimony that they're collecting from other people are liars, are from liars.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say yes, I guess. Yeah.
But I also don't think that contradictions are necessarily going to actually dispute the reliability of the accounts.
No, at least partially.
No, I think certain types of contradictions,
right,
are going to be important, right? So, for instance, like I'm totally fine saying there's probably good faith errors in the Gospels.
Sure. Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's fair. Yeah,
I mean, for me, it's like, okay, big deal, right? The types of contradictions that are going to be more evidentially valuable are the contradictions that are going to be explained best, if they exist, by the authors changing or making up facts.
Right. Okay. So let's see. Let's focus on the resurrection account, like the finding of the empty tomb. That single story, that one single story, I find there are so many contradictions on that single story. It's like at some point, it's just too much.
Okay. So can I ask you a clarifying question? I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to clarify. Can you give me the definition of a contradiction?
It's a statement, so two statements such that they cannot both be true simultaneously.
Phenomenal. Kate, now, if you have more to go off, I'll let you go off. But can you actually show me a genuine contradiction?
Show you? Let me give you an example. Okay. Like I am wearing a hat right now, and I am not wearing a hat right now.
In the resurrection account, can you show me a genuine contradiction?
Well,
where something is A and not A?
Well, that's what I'm gonna try to do, right? Contradiction can be like this. We can also call them like discrepancies, right?
Yeah, well, discrepancy is not a contradiction.
Yeah, but it's kind of close, similar. It's kind of also a problem for a narration. Like you shouldn't have a ton of discrepancies.
Here's the problem with that: you're just rhetorically loading your argument. Then.
Okay, I don't want to. I wanted to go in order, like in order of the story. But
go ahead. I'm just correcting something really quickly. Okay. I'm not going to accuse you of dishonesty, right? But sure. It is not a responsible handling of the argumentation if you're going to just be like, yeah, contradictions and discrepancies are the same thing. So I'm just going to use the same word for both.
No, they're not the same thing, but discrepancies do the same to your case that contradiction do almost.
Yeah, sure, just not in the same type of magnitude.
Okay, sure, okay. So I think, there are like 4 or 5 contradictions in the empty tomb narrative. I think the first one.
Hold on. Are they discrepancies or contradictions?
Let's call them discrepancies or apparent. Let's call it apparent contradictions or discrepancies.
Okay, because those are different, right? As Than was established, right? A contradiction is A and not A, which means it just cannot be true. Discrepancy could be like something forgotten
or not mentioned.
Okay, if you want to be very exact, I think there are 2 contradictions, right? And I think there are 2 discrepancies. That's my opinion. But
give us the contradiction there, the A and not A.
Okay. Sure. When was the first appearance of Jesus after the resurrection? Was it in Jerusalem or in Galilee? I think Luke says it was in Jerusalem, and Matthew strongly implies it was in Galilee. I think that's what you get for the test. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes.
Are you talking about the ascension?
Jesus' first appearance to the disciples after the resurrection. Luke says it happens in the road to Damascus. He first appeared to 2 of them. They didn't recognize it at first.
Yeah.
Then he.
So I don't have it memorized, but I do have notes on it, and I can read my notes on it. So basically, the discrepancy is in Mark's shorter ending. The angel tells the woman, "Go tell the disciples and Peter that he's going ahead of you to Galilee. There you'll see him." Matthew reports Jesus told the women to tell his brothers to meet him in Galilee. The disciples later met Jesus on a Galilean mountain where he gives the Great Commission. At the end of Luke's gospel, Jesus appears to the disciples in Jerusalem and says, "I am sending you upon what your father promised. So stay here in the city until you have been clothed from the power on high." Are you familiar with this one, Jon Than?
Yeah.
Do you want to answer it?
Go ahead. No, if you got notes.
I just got notes. I'm just going to read the notes because I don't have it memorized.
I mean, I don't have this stuff memorized either, so that's why.
Yeah. In Acts, Luke clarifies that Jesus appeared to the apostles over 40 days and ordered them to leave Jerusalem, but to wait for the Holy Spirit. The apparent contradiction is Matthew and Mark emphasize going to Galilee, while Luke seems to confine the post-resurrection events to Jerusalem and instructs the disciples to remain there. So what we have is observation from the gospel accounts. John records Jesus' first appearance to the disciples in Jerusalem, John 20, but later it appeared by the Sea of Tiberias in Galilee. John ends his gospel by noting that Jesus did many other things not recorded in John 21:25. So his silence about the ascension is not evidence against it, right? So there's this idea of argument from silence. It's not mentioned, so therefore it didn't happen. Matthew narrates one post-resurrection appearance on the Galilean mountain where Jesus commissions the disciples, Matthew 28:16-20. He does not mention the ascension. His focus is on the mission of nations. So again, showing another area of an argument from silence. Luke compresses the timeline in the Gospels. So in Luke 24, the resurrection, Jesus appears. The appearance ascension is instructed to remain in Jerusalem, appeared to happen in rapid succession. However, in Acts 1:3, Luke clarifies that Jesus presented himself alive, appeared to them for 40 days. So right there, another argument. So we have it in Luke. It just happens. It's really quick. But then in Acts, the same author, he clarifies that he showed up for 40 days. So Luke is compressing things. He's leaving information out. Luke notes that Jesus ordered them not to leave Jerusalem until they received the promise of the Holy Spirit. This command came at the end of the 40 days, just before the ascension, not immediately after the resurrection. The angel's message in Mark precedes Jesus' personal instruction to his disciples. The message informs the disciples where they will first see Jesus, in Galilee. Jesus commanded in Luke to stay in the city, comes later at the Galilean appearance, and is linked with the impending gift of the Holy Spirit. The ancient biographers often compressed and conflated events to create a coherent narrative and emphasizes theological themes. Scholars note that Luke frequently groups material together rather than chronologically. By combining the resurrection, appearance, and ascension in one chapter, Luke underscores the unity of the Gospels, while Acts provides the extended chronology. Matthew likewise may have transplanted or summarized appearances to focus on the Galilean theme, highlights Jesus' ministry among the Gentiles surrounding Galilee, and then ending with the universal commission. His omission of the ascension does not deny it and serves no non-literary purposes. I'm going to skip some notes here just for the sake of times. Okay. Different emphasis, same events. Matthew, Mark highlight the promise of a Galilean appearance. Luke highlights Jerusalem's appearance and the command to wait for the Spirit. John records both. The emphasis reflects each author's theological aims. Luke's own sequel shows the timeline. Acts reveals that Jesus spent 40 days with the disciples and only commanded them to stay in Jerusalem until Pentecost. Luke's comprised gospel narrative is not chronological but thematic. There is no contradiction. The disciples' first instruction to go to Galilee to meet him as risen Jesus. Later, they were told to stay in Jerusalem before the Spirit arrived. Both events occurred during the 40 days between the resurrection and the ascension, fitting the composition accounts.
Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. Here's why it's more than an argument from silence. Luke, it's not just that Luke doesn't mention the appearance to Galilee. The issue is that Luke specifically says that the appearance in Jerusalem was the first one after he resurrected. And Matthew appears to do the same. It doesn't strongly implies that the appearance in Galilee is
so
the
Luke
first
specifically
one.
says it's the first one? He
Yes,
uses the
it
word
says,
first?
Yes, it says.
Can you give me the verse?
Chapter 24, verse 13. It's like it happens the very same day.
Right, but that you said he uses the word first. Right.
Yeah,
now I showed you how he leaves out the 40 days in Luke, but in Acts mentions the 40 days. Right. Yeah. Showing that Luke is compressing things. Sorry, what was the verse again?
Chapter 24, verse 13.
24.
I mean, you read if you read the entire chapter, it's obvious that it's the first. Like, I mean, you have to read the whole chapter. It's very obvious.
But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah, because the prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear your son." Oh, Luke 24:13. No, you're right. I got the wrong one. 24:13, right?
Right.
So they, the same day, two of them were going to the village Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking to each other about everything happened. As they talked and deliberated, Jesus himself came up along them, but their eyes kept recognizing him. He asked, "What are you discussing?" Is this the verse? This doesn't feel like the verse.
Also, it says no. In the verse 13, it says it happened the very same day. Okay, that's important because it's the same day the angels appeared to a woman. So it's right after, right? And then in verse 36, the 33 and 36, it says that they told the two disciples that first saw Jesus went and told the others, "Oh my God, he really appears."
So let's go back and read. Then they remembered his words and they returned to the tomb. Jesus reported all the things 11 to the others, Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary mother of James, and other women who told the apostles, but the words seemed like nonsense to them, but they did not believe the women. Peter, however, ran to the tomb after bending down and seeing only linen cloths, and he went away wondering what happened. The same day, the two. So where is he saying? Okay, on the first week, very early in the morning, the woman came to the tomb bringing spices they had prepared. They found a stone rolled away from the tomb, but they entered. They did not find the body of Lord Jesus. While puzzling over these things, suddenly 2 men radiant appeared, stood beside them. As women bowed their faces to the ground, the 2 men asked, why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here. He has risen. Remember, he told you while he was still in Galilee, the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of the sinful men and be crucified, on the 3rd day risen again. They remembered the words and they returned from the tomb, reported all these things in 11 to the words. It was Mary Magdalene. I'm not seeing the contradiction that you're bringing up.
Look, in the verse 36, it narrates. No, it's not a contradiction. You have to compare to Matthew, obviously, to see the contradiction. What I'm trying to get is that this is the first time that Jesus appears to the disciples. And from the context, it's obvious. But you have to read the whole chapter here. It's maybe it can be hard to explain. But here in verse 36, it says that everyone was terrified and they thought it was seeing a ghost, right? This obviously shows that it's the first one. And if you see in verse 13, it says it happened the very same day. It's like just after the angel tells to Mary, Jesus will appear. It happens like hours after. So obviously it makes sense for this to be the first one. I'm just trying to establish that the one Luke mentions was the first one. And
Than, are you getting? I'm not seeing it. Are you getting it?
Well, I know the argument. I'm just waiting for the reason to think that this is actually the first appearance.
Because look on verse. This is the reason. It happens right after the angels. That it's in verse 13. It's the very same day, right? Then this is one reason. Second reason, on verse 33, it says the disciples, the 2 disciples that first encountered Jesus went and told the others, like, "Oh my God, it's true. Jesus has risen," right? It makes sense if he's the first, right? Because if they already saw him before that, it makes little sense to say that. And then in verse 36, we get another reason. We say everyone is terrified and they think they're seeing a ghost. And this makes more sense if he's the first, because if they already seen him risen before, this makes little sense. You have to read the entire context to see how this is obviously presented as the first time he appeared.
Have you, and this isn't supposed to be just like a gotcha question or anything like that.
Yeah.
Have you read the scholarship on this, or is this like, I'm just kind of curious where you're coming at this from.
I read Bart Ehrman has a debate on his blog on this, a very in-depth debate with someone. I forgot who is the one, but yeah, that's that's all I've read. David Palman even agrees with that part. He agrees that this one on Luke is the first one. He thinks that the one in Galilee Matthew is describing came later. That's his harmonization. But even David Palman agrees that this one is the first. That's his harmonization. He says that the Matthew one was a later one.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, it's not fine, but I can show you why it's not fine.
Well, no, I'm asking you, besides listening to a debate, because what John just kind of gave you is it wrapped up why this isn't a contradiction.
No, I think John just read like all the notes he had. He like all the notes he has saved on it, because he's like from here and there, like everything apologies have ever said on this, and he has a list. I have the same.
What he said doesn't work because this is what apologists say.
No, what he said doesn't work because he didn't address my argument. He said, "Oh, it's an argument of silence because they didn't mention the Galilee." I'm not saying they did. I'm not just saying Luke didn't mention this. I'm saying Matthew specifically says the appearance of Galilee is the first one, and Luke specifically says the appearance of Galilee is the first one. John's notes didn't address this. I'm sure I heard them. He says they are notes about this, but they don't specifically respond to my argument. I understand that if one is not familiar with this harmonization, doing this passage, it takes a lot of time to actually read the whole chapter and understand. I understand that right now it may be difficult to respond to what I'm saying. One has to read the whole thing, really.
Wait, say it again.
Wait, so hold on though. Isn't Luke a Jerusalem appearance, not a Galilean appearance?
Yes, it's in Jerusalem. Luke says it's in Jerusalem.
Right. So for the 40, so they have the appearance in Jerusalem, and then 40 days and 40 nights in the appearance in Galilee.
Yeah, but now here's the second part of my argument. Matthew strongly implies that the appearance in Galilee was the first one. That's the other part of my argument.
Matthew implies that?
Yes.
Okay.
We can look at it.
Can you show me that?
Wait, Matthew says that? I thought you said Luke says that.
You did say Luke says that. You said Luke
yeah,
said, that's why I was so confused.
Oh.
Because I was like, Luke is talking about, he never mentions Galilee, right? And the argument here is that the appearance is in Jerusalem. But you're saying Matthew is stating it's the, okay, so what verse in Matthew?
Yeah. Let me tell you why.
Matthew 28.
So the appearance is on, hold on. Where is that? I have to search. I think it's Matthew chapter 28. No, wait, where is the appearance on? Oh, I can't find it now. The appearance on Galilee. Oh, verse 16, chapter 28, verse 16 is the appearance on Galilee.
So the guards took the money as they were instructed, and as the account was circulated among the Jews the very day. Meanwhile, the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain of Jesus had designated. When they saw him, they worshipped him.
Oh, yeah. This is related to the ascension too.
Yeah, but that's what we're arguing, is that this isn't, that they had the appearance in Jerusalem and then they went to Galilee and had the appearance.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Let me give you my reasons why I think Matthew is implying that this is the first one. Because the Matthew has the angel tell the women.
It has what? Sorry, that was.
You're bringing up a second contradiction because you're saying it's
going
to be the angel
one
versus the men, right?
No. I'm telling you the reason why I think this Matthew presents this as the first one, as the first appearance to Jesus. Matthew doesn't say specifically this is the first time, but he says two things that imply it, in my opinion. One, Matthew has the angel. What the angel tells to the women is, go tell the disciples that Jesus will meet them in Galilee. Now, this makes much more sense if this is going to be the first time that he meets them. It makes very little sense.
No, you're assuming you're doing what originally was the contention I brought up in my notes, is that you're reading it through Western eyes, right?
Wait,
and I gave you examples. Are
the passages you're looking at to argue for this 28:7, Matthew 28:7 and Luke 24:6-7?
Matthew 28.
No, Matthew 28:16.
Yeah, but in order to say what he's bringing up the angel now.
Yes, 28:7. That's right. That's when the angel tells
then go quickly and tell his disciples that he has risen from the dead. Behold, he is going before you to Galilee. There you will see him. See, I have told you. Luke 24:6-7. The angel reminds them, remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of the sinful men. Those two verses.
Right. No, I'm just trying to establish the fact that Matthew presents the appearance in Galilee as the first one. It doesn't have anything.
I think you missed what Than said. Listen carefully to what he said. Say it again, Than.
While he was still in Galilee is the Luke passage.
Right. It's a different message. That's my old discrepancy. That's one of my discrepancies. The angel says different things. But
what?
But it doesn't. This one is not related to what Luke says. What the thing is, Matthew. This makes more sense. Do you think the appearance in Galilee was not the first one? Was like a later appearance? Is that what you think? Because if Luke, do you agree that Luke portrays the appearance in Jerusalem as the first one, or do you think
Luke telescopes his narrative like he does a lot?
What do you mean?
Do you know what telescoping is? Where you condense he condenses narratives.
he specifically says that this happened the first day. And what is condensing narrative? At some
You're
point, if
kind
you
of jumping
condense,
all over the place right now. That
yeah,
it's getting a little frustrating. Which verse are you talking about now?
no, I mean, in general, look, do you think, look, in general, when you look at the entire thing, does one get the impression that the appearance in Jerusalem was the first one? Do you agree with this or not?
With what question?
Do you think the appearance of Jesus...
Sorry, hold on, I understand. Is the first appearance that Jesus has, is that happening in Luke, right? Is that the very first appearance that he does when he reveals himself?
Right.
Oh,
do you agree with this?
Well, you're the one that's saying what you're saying. You're the one that's saying there's a contradiction here. So what is like? Can we just make this really explicit rather than like?
Okay, so let me try to steelman you. So you're saying that Luke states that the very first appearance is in Luke, and in Luke it's in Jerusalem because they later went to Galilee. But Matthew is saying that the very first appearance is Galilee, and this is the direct contradiction.
Exactly, that's right.
Okay. First of all, Matthew never mentions it's the first appearance.
No, but it implies it.
No, you can't just say that. Like, look, you cannot take just an idiosyncratic reading of the text. Like, do you have a linguistic argument? Like, do you have anything other than this is my plain reading of the text as a modern Western thinker?
I think it's strongly implied. For example, Matthew says some disciples doubted, and this makes little sense for the second or fifth appearance. This makes more sense also for the first appearance.
Well, for some, it probably was the first appearance because some doubted.
Well, I think Luke says
hold on.
The 11
You just look. Hold on. I asked you for like a specific linguistic argument, right? Like something to tell us why we should read the text this way, and you said because it makes the most sense.
Okay, so let me give you the narrative that we're arguing for. So resurrection morning, women discover the empty tomb. Angel tells them Jesus was raised and instructs them to tell the disciples to go to Galilee. First appearance is in Jerusalem. Jesus appears to Mary Magdalene and later to the disciples in Jerusalem in John 20, Luke 24, 36 through 49. And Luke's compressed account, he tells them to stay in the city until the Spirit comes. Acts clarifies this command is given near the end of the 40-day period. The Galilean appearance. The disciples go to Galilee and see Jesus on a mountain. He commissions them to make disciples out of all nations. Matthew 28, 16 through 20. John narrates a second appearance by the Sea of Tiberias, which is in Galilee. John 21. Final instructions in ascension. After returning to Judea, Jesus instructs the disciples to remain in Jerusalem until they receive the Holy Spirit. He ascends near Bethany. The disciples then stay in Jerusalem until Pentecost. I also did mention before that this is not an uncommon thing. We see other places where people compress things and they leave out information, which is the argument of silence that you're arguing for here.
No, what I'm saying is that Matthew kind of portrays this as the first one, the first appearance.
Dude, you can't look. I'm asking you for a reason to think that.
Right.
Other than this is just how I read the text.
Like, for example, John 21, 25 records that Jesus did many other things that are not recorded. So he actively states that Jesus does things that are not always recorded. And John backs up Luke by saying that they showed up in Jerusalem, John 20, and then they showed up in Galilee, John 21, 25.
Okay, but I'm not sure what you're asking, Tan. You want me to give you arguments for why Matthew is saying this other than an obvious reading of the text implies this? I mean, what do you want? You know?
Well, I mean, look.
Dan lost his internet. Well, he's lost. Gabriel came in with $5, says some doubted. It's just a general statement about some of the disciples still doubting. It tells you nothing about the chronologically whatsoever. Go ahead.
Yeah, but why would they doubt?
Matthew 28:16. It's Matthew 28:16 through 18 that you're saying says this was the first appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the part where the angel tells the women, they go to the Galilee and there you will see the disciples. Also, this makes more sense if they are.
Wait, stop. The angel says, go to Galilee and you will see the disciples. He doesn't say, go first to Galilee. He doesn't say anything chronological.
Right. Yeah. Oh, is it my internet?
It's
No.
his. It's his.
Mine?
No, it's his. It's Than's.
Oh,
Than's
so,
goes in
okay.
out. You're back now, Than.
Because
Why is
mine
this
is being
so
acting
annoying?
weird also.
This is part of the reason why I haven't been talking much, by the way. My internet keeps going in and out, and I have
That's
no
okay.
clue what's happening.
All right. So just to kind of summarize, and I do want to move on to the.
Okay, sure.
Go ahead.
Really quick.
Yeah.
Matthew 28:16. And what other verse in Matthew are you pointing to?
I pointed to 2 things: what the angel says and the fact that some
Yeah,
doubted.
what is
This is my
the
2
verse?
arguments.
I don't remember the verse
6,
off the
verse
top of my
6.
head.
Go to 6.
Oh,
What did you say?
6.
Matthew 28:6.
6 through 8.
Oy, oy.
How many times do I have to go by my house to mow the lawn?
Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him.
yes, right.
Okay. Where is the chronological urgency?
I mean, I understand the angel doesn't explicitly says, "Oh, that's going to be the first time you see him," but it's kind of
Okay.
obvious
Wait,
that
hold
if
on,
an
hold on.
angel-
Let me read something to you, okay?
Right.
Just
Okay.
because with Matthew 28:16, the first thing that you see in verse 16 is then the 11 disciples went to Galilee.
Right.
What was happening before this?
The women were finding the tomb.
Right. Matthew's compressing his account. So right before this, in Luke 24:36-43 and John 20:19 through 29, what's happening?
And also
Jesus
Acts
appears before his disciples in Jerusalem.
And also Acts notes there was 40 days and 40 nights.
Right. The reason
before
you
Galilee.
Yeah. Before Galilee. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So things happened. They didn't go straight to
No,
Galilee.
but that's the author for Acts is Luke, who which might
Right.
in my
So
contention
here's
is contradicting Matthew. So
right,
you
so-
kind
so-
of saying
so-
he
so
has
this-
to be
to-
harmonized.
To summarize here, we have Acts that
Okay.
confirms the 40 days. We have John that also backs up the account of the Galilean and Jerusalem appearance. And then we have in Luke specifically stating that they did things first and then went to Galilee. Your argument in retort to this is that I think Matthew is saying that they went straight to Galilee, even though it doesn't straight say it. Do you understand why we would not be convinced of your argument?
No, yeah, my argument is that it's kind of implied, and you have to explain why the angel.
How is it implied?
Yeah, because of what the angel says to the women. Hey, go
The
tell the
angel says,
disciples.
"Do not be afraid." Wait, not that verse. Sorry. Which one is
6.
it?
He is not here. He
He's
is
not
risen,
here.
just as he said.
Just as he said, "Come and see the place where he lay." Then go quickly and tell his disciples, "He has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him." Now I've told you.
Right.
Wait.
So
Look, man. How? We need something. We need something to tell us that this is saying this is the first place you need to go.
right, because if Jesus is planning to meet them in Jerusalem, then he can tell them himself to go to Galilee. There is no need for the angel to go relay that message. It would
Right.
be a bit
This
absurd.
is just armchair psychology. You're just assuming what people should do and how behave and how they should.
Yeah,
write.
this is a priori history.
No, I'm assuming obvious human behavior, rational behavior from rational agents.
In other words, you're doing a priori history.
Right.
You're presuming anachronistically how an ancient author would be writing their text based off of what you think a modern writer would be doing.
No, based off what I think an ancient author will do, based on how people generally
that's
are.
what I'm
And
saying.
what you think somebody would do is based off of your own modern conception of how they would be writing and what they would be doing. Yeah.
Well, so is your conception when you say
let me
lie.
I want to move to the next guest because we've been talking for a while.
Okay.
Let me do a quick summary. I'll let you have the floor so that way I'm not just like saying my part and kicking you out. But the summary that we have right now is we actually have some sort of evidence that backs up our case, right? We have these other verses that kind of go into it and what you would expect to see if there are these 2 appearances. Your argument so far is that when I read this text, it seems to me that he's saying that it's happening right away. Even though me and Than, when we read it, we don't see it. And I'm probably not steel manning you well, but that does seem to be what your argument is. I'm going to give you the floor so you can say your bit, but then I got to jump on because we've been talking.
Yeah, sure, that's okay. Yeah, this is a long topic. That's okay. No, it's not. It's more that It seems to me. I think it's more like it seems to everyone kind of thing. Like it seems to every reader will understand it in that way kind of thing. It
Okay,
seems to me like
sorry.
I'm gonna let him do his thing.
No, you're right. You're right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Because for the women, the angel to tell the women, hey, go tell the disciples, he will appear to you in Galilee. For Jesus to show up before that in Jerusalem, it's like almost like pulling a prank on them. Like, hey, surprise! I told you will see me in Galilee, but here I am, surprise early. It's too weird. It makes no sense for the angel to tell you that. And in addition to that, you also say that some doubted, and this makes again little sense. If it was like the fifth appearance, right? You also have to invent some other ad hoc thing to rationalize this piece of evidence.
Okay. All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming up. I am going to jump to the next person.
Okay.
But
Thanks,
God bless,
guys.
man. You're always a great guy.
Okay.
Later.
Peace.
Bye.
I just wanted to say, because Itch isn't back. He's like, I'd shocked if they were surprised, but it literally says in Luke they were surprised.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. It's not fair for me to talk when he's gone. Do you need a bathroom break at all?
Not yet.
Okay, I do. So why don't you entertain the masses, you and Abby, and I'll be right back.
Should I dance again?
I think they would like that. Except you have no music.
I am really frustrated about my internet going in and out right now. It just keeps happening, and I have no clue why it's doing this. Abby, do you have any ideas why? Chat, do you have any ideas why?
I have no. I'm not the tech person in this relationship.
Fair enough.
Anything tech, I say I'm just a girl, and I let John do it.
I'm just a girl. Man. I'm just looking through to see. Whatever.
Someone said it's
What's
because
up,
you
chat?
danced.
Maybe. No, it's been an issue on intermittently for like the last 2 weeks, and I have no clue why it's doing this. What PC you're running? It's a like a custom built PC. So, and it's not a RAM issue. I have 64 gigs of RAM. I'm slightly worried that it's because I have a 13th gen i9, and it's failing on me. But either way, I don't know how to entertain you guys. John, this wasn't in the job description.
It's okay, he's back.
What wasn't in the job description?
Entertaining people while you go pee.
Yes, it was. It literally was in the contract I sent you.
Fair enough.
I sent it post though, so it might not be there yet. Okay. We've got quite a few people in the queue, so let's see. Oh. Unless they were all trolls. Or they all left. They might have all left. I just went through like 10 of them. There we are. Lucas, hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you? All right, bro. Just give me two. I'm good, man. Give me 2 seconds and I'll bring you in. All right, bro. Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Prove us wrong. Win a taco. Go ahead. But before you go, Patriotic Z came in. Tupac says, draw a circle around the routers so zooting will stop.
I'm not here to prove you guys wrong necessarily.
Sorry. Go ahead, Lucas.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not here to prove you guys wrong necessarily. But my question would be, what would you consider to be evidence, or how would you consider the Bible to be falsifiable?
How would do you want to answer that, or you want me to?
I'm not really understanding the question, because that can be interpreted in a lot of ways. Can you kind of give us more of a focus to the question?
Yeah.
Good morning, Mitchell.
Breaking it down is just like typically when it comes to like, to me, when I ask that question, I guess I'll just like define it in the most layman's way of saying like, what evidence would support the Bible being false in your point of view? How is the Bible falsifiable is kind of asking, where is that foundation where it's just like, well, if this is taken out, it all falls down. Like, where's that
Oh, I mean, there's tons of
Because
different
like
ways you can do it,
so for
right?
like an example, quite simply, it would be like an alibi in a trial. Like an alibi, hey,
Right.
this guy being
I know
guilty is
I know what
falsifiable because we
falsifiability
have.
is. What I wanted to know is when you say falsify the Bible, that could mean so many different things because
Yeah.
like the Bible's not one text, right? And then some people will say falsify the Bible to mean falsify Christianity when there's so many different ways you can take that. So if all you're asking is how would I suggest someone could falsify Christianity, there's tons of ways you could try to do that, theoretically speaking. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like what do you think is like something that's falsifiable? Like what is the alibi that would prove
Sure.
that?
I think God's existence is falsifiable. I think you could argue against the reliability of the Gospels. You could do a lot of different things, but I would say those are
So
going to be like the two big ones.
How in your opinion is God's existence falsifiable? What evidence would you take a look at and be like, well, yep, that did it. Time to pack it up, boys.
Well, I don't think so. There's a difference between a hypothesis being falsifiable, in other words, meaning like it generates predictions or expectations in a way that things that are surprising, if the hypothesis were true, would be evidence against it. And a hypothesis being falsifiable in the sense that I just don't think there's good evidence against the hypothesis, right? So in theory, if you were to say something like, hey, theism, God's existence, gets us to expect X, and then we see Z instead, then Z would be evidence against God's existence. Most people try to do this with arguments from divine hiddenness, the problem of evil, stuff like that.
Okay, but like what do you consider though? Like I don't know. So I understand that like most people, I mean, I talk about like religion a lot, mostly with my in-laws and stuff. I don't necessarily accept the Bible, but I don't go around trying to falsify it or prove it wrong because to me it's like I'm big fan of like it's very hard to disprove to prove a negative. You know, we can discuss.
I don't think that's
some
true.
negatives are probably easy to prove, but when we're talking about something that's ill-defined, and let me rephrase that. When I say ill-defined, I know you understand you have your own hard definition of what you consider Christianity, what you consider your God. But when I say ill-defined, it's like per Christian, I think you would agree with this.
Is evolution ill-defined because the majority of people that believe in it can't actually put out a particular model that's well-defined?
I think evolution is not the issue here. Like I'm talking about like
Well,
necessarily.
hold on.
Like,
I'm just applying the logic of how you use the term ill-defined in other places that are not religiously significant, just to see if you have or you're consistent with the critique. That's all.
No. I'm talking about like let me rephrase that. Like denominations. You kind of see what I'm saying? You
Right.
and
Right, but
this is
here,
my first time calling. I don't know what denomination you guys are.
yeah. So here's the
But
thing.
would you necessarily-
Here's the thing. Even if we have different denominations that disagree
We all
about
agree we're
certain
all
things,
Christians.
right? We all agree we're Christians. We agree on the fundamental aspects. So what Than's doing is he's saying if you're consistent, if your epistemology is solid. So he's saying even though people in science disagree on the models of evolution, does that make evolution?
Well, that's not even what I'm doing. Well, we can go there, but
Sure.
he specifically brought up. He said, not verbatim, right? But generally speaking, you said something like, it's ill-defined. Then you stopped and you go, what I mean is, I know you have a good solid definition of God, Christianity, stuff like that, what you mean by that stuff, but the average day-to-day Christian doesn't. And you use that as a case example of ill-defined.
Not the average.
All I did was
day-to-day
say
Christian is
say what?
Well, some Christians are going to be ill-defined. Let's be honest. There's some who say I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. I see this, I do that, I do that.
Well,
But
that's
if
fine.
you get
The reason I brought up
off of a
evolution was
street-
because a lot of people believe evolution, but they have an ill-defined. They don't have a good working model of evolutionary theory. And it's like, well, why should we expect them to, right? Because they're normal, everyday Joe Schmoes who have other things to worry about. In the same way, Christians don't really have an imperative to model out their theology in such a way that John and I have, because they have different types of jobs and occupations.
I can see that. Yeah.
Just real quick, guys. Patriotic Z came in with $5. Says, "Walk with the Spirit made a song for me using sus hadith and making fun of the chain they use. Can send it to you if you have an email or Discord. Put it on the Discord in the music." Word Unbox came in with $9.99. Says, "I don't have input. Be blessed, John. LOL. Thank you very much." All right, guys, go ahead.
But I still kind of like, for me, it's just when I say ill-defined, you're right. I shouldn't be applying it like that. Maybe there's better terminology to it, but talking to each person, they're going to have their own definition of Christianity and their own version of their God through Christianity. A lot of times it changes denomination to denomination. You know, you ask Catholic, you ask Calvinist, you ask a Seventh-day Advent.
Yeah,
Seventh Day.
Can you kind of land the plane here, because like I'm not really seeing the relevance of this, I guess, as to whether or not Christianity is true or false, or if Jesus rose from the dead.
So for example, me and Than do disagree on things about Christianity and about God. Like straight up disagree. We're not on the same page. We both think that each other is correct in the fact that God exists and that Jesus Christ resurrected from the dead, and there's enough supporting evidence for that. And we both would call each other Christians and brothers under Christ. What's the issue?
I was kind of just getting to, how would you define your version of Christianity and your version of this God? How would you make this God falsifiable?
Well, again, theories don't work in this weird black and white way that you're suggesting they do. John and I have a minimal definition of Christianity, and then we have our own systematization of our philosophy, our theology, and stuff like that we can disagree on. But the core things are still there.
Patriotic Z, it's down below. Sorry, guys, go ahead.
No, you're good. And so, in the same, like, I'm sure, John, you correct me if I'm wrong, but if you were to say, hey, here is some evidence that's really surprising if God exists, and we were convinced of that surprise and of that data point or observation being really surprising if God existed, then John and I would both say, yes, that lowers the probability that Christianity is true.
Okay. All right. That was it. I was just curious. You guys have a good day.
Okay.
Hey, man. Oh, God bless. He just left. God bless, man. Have a great one. All right, let's bring up another guest. Guys, just real quick, if you want to join the conversation, me and Than are arguing the positive case that Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Prove us wrong, we will buy you a taco. You can join at tinyurl.com/BigJohnSteele. No H, 10 at the end. Password is 12345. Priority.
2 O's.
What?
I'm just being a jerk. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
2 O's. There's 2 O's in your name, right, John?
No.
June. Big June.
Moving on. You didn't put in a name, so add a label. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you? All right, man. Give me. All right, bro. Just give me 2 seconds and I'll bring in. All right, Tom. Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Prove us wrong. Win a taco. Go ahead.
I was gonna approach this more on the basis of curiosity. I was just wondering exactly like what you truly believed Christian philosophy was.
What's this have to do with the topic?
Like the idea of like Jesus Christ rising from the dead, the values that Jesus himself taught.
That doesn't really answer my question. What does my specific philosophy of Christianity or God necessarily entail of whether or not he rose from the dead?
Make a good point.
Word Unbox came in $9.99, the donation for the backbone of a wife. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you make a pretty good point there. I don't really think that I can prove that he rose from the dead or not.
Okay. Is there anything else?
All right. Nah, not really. Sorry for wasting your time.
You're good, bro. God bless.
Catch you later, man.
Appreciate the honesty. Appreciate the honesty. Today's been pretty easy actually. Today's been a easy day. Ryam, hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you? All right, bro. Give me 2 seconds and I'll bring you in. All right, Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Prove us wrong. Win a taco. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do in this discussion is to be like as open as possible. So I granted the priors of supernatural things being possible, and so I came to a conclusion that if the supernatural entities are also are interested in what is happening in Galilee, specifically with Jesus, so there has to be two things. Either it will be a sort of a demonic deception to fool the world from maybe the Orthodox Jew position, or Christ, or what Christ said is true and it's
Are you
actually God.
Jewish?
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to be open with to see
Sure.
what to be.
So
What
just
will be
can you
possible.
just so I understand where you're coming from? Are you atheist, agnostic, Christian? What are you?
I'm agnostic as of
Okay.
now. I'm not.
And you're granting that there is supernatural for the
Yeah,
sake of argument.
supernatural thing. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and then you're going to make the argument that it's not Jesus isn't God, but rather he's a demon trying to confuse people.
No, I'm not. I'm not sure about that. I'm saying there's two possibilities. Either that actual resurrection is true, or it's sort of a demonic deception.
Okay,
That
so you're conceding that Jesus Christ rose from the dead.
I'm considering that it's one of the possibilities.
Okay,
But
but
it's not obvious. It's not obvious that it is
yeah,
one
yeah,
of them.
yeah, that's fine. But for the sake of the argument, the conversation, are you conceding that he rose from the dead? You're just saying it's not God.
Mm.
And modern
So
brain,
I'm
thank
like
you
I
for the
say,
$2.
I'm not like I'm not this in this conversation. I just want to like engage with you guys because I'm not
I like
actually sure if I completely deny the fact. That's what this is are the two possibilities
right.
that I'm.
I'd like to engage with you too, but I need to know where you're coming from. So you're saying that
Yeah.
I grant the supernatural, but it could be
Yeah.
all these other things. So for the
Mhm.
sake of the conversation, are you granting that Jesus Christ resurrected from the dead?
No, not yet. I'm saying he could have risen from the dead, or
Well,
the
when you say
demon.
he could have, that's kind of granting
Yeah,
it, isn't it?
yeah. He could. Yeah, I'm saying he could have risen from the dead, or maybe the disciples were deceived, or that and the
Well, which
appearance wasn't.
argument are you making? Because if you're just saying maybe it's all these 100 billion things, that doesn't really give me anything to go off of.
Okay,
Modern
so
Brain
what I'm
said, shout out to the Inspiring Philosophy newsletters.
okay, so in my mind, the way that we could verify if Jesus actually rose from the dead is if we can show that he's like really like the Messiah that was prophesied in the Old Testament.
Right. You're
If
just, you're all over the place, my friend. I need you to take a stance and hold to it so I actually know what to talk about.
so
Because now
for this one,
you're on to prophecy.
sure, because that for me that will for sure disprove that it was a demonic deception. If we can
Right.
prove that it
Well,
was
are you claiming he's demonic? Is that the, like, I just need to know what claim you're making so I know what to address.
Mm. So what I'm claiming for now is that what the disciples saw what is demonic deception.
Okay, so your claim is that the disciples did see these things happen. They saw Jesus get
Yeah, but it
crucified,
wasn't.
resurrect, walked on water, but it wasn't God. It was a demon.
Yeah, let's say like a bit like akin like to Muhammad, like what they were like say they were deceived, like
Okay.
all the so okay. So
Okay.
now
What?
I'm not okay.
Cool.
Now what
Cool.
I'm saying is
Sure. I
show
understand.
it.
I understand
Now
your
what I'm
stance
saying that
now.
you show it to disprove this thesis. Would be
Well,
maybe if you
I
show
don't need
that.
to disprove it because now you've made a positive claim. You have to give me a reason to believe it.
Okay. So what I will say then is the movie is that Jesus' teachings do not coincide with the Old Testament, will not be coherent with the Old Testament teachings,
That's fine.
and
But
then
I can even grant that it's not in line with the Old Testament, but that doesn't necessarily show that he's demonic, right? If we're simply asking the question of like, what is his ontology in the state of the miracles that he was showing people?
yeah, but the thing is also, but if let's say to assume the contrary, if he's actually God, he cannot lie. So if he's contradicting himself,
Well,
that
hold on.
would
Now you're making like a base assertion that God just cannot, like, it's impossible to do that. God cannot lie. But again, this is assuming a whole bunch of things. All you're doing right now is kind of jumping all over the place. You're doing a gish gallop. You're making a specific claim that Jesus is demonic. Why?
Like this is what I was trying to tell you from the beginning, that I'm more or less in a searching phase. I don't yet have like a defined position, and I was more or less giving you my line of reasoning that I'm thinking there's two possibilities, and I'm trying to engage with you guys if you could like disprove one possibility, so that I could just okay.
Well, I don't.
Like,
You don't need. So you can make any sort of claims that are valid but not sound, right? Like I can make a valid claim that pixies push the moon around the Earth, and that's how gravity works. That does, and then I just say to you guys, well, prove me wrong. No, I actually think I have to make a case to prove that the pixies are actually pushing the moon around the Earth. Now we have reason to believe that Jesus is God. For one, he came around claiming that he is God. He has authority over life and death. This is what the Jews expected. This is that the early culture of Judaism said about him. So we have this case that points to him actually being God and not being some sort of demonic figure. You just stating he could be a demonic figure, sure. It's logically what sort of, it follows logically possible but not logically sound. I have no reason to hold that viewpoint.
yeah, so this is kind of what my problem is, that from the amount of evidence I assume it's plausible and it's even possible to say he was God and he was a demon. So I'm trying like to find like a symmetry breaker to be like, okay, to remove one of the possibilities out.
Do you
So
think
me myself, I haven't found yet something to say that okay, it's either God or a demon. I haven't found something.
Do you think that this demon hypothesis actually matches an explanatory power to the God became incarnate hypothesis?
I won't play it until I hear it first, Patriot. I'll have to hear it first. So maybe next live.
Like, do you actually think both of these two things?
Sorry, I have to shut you up for money. Modern Brain came in with a 50 big one, says, keep defending the faith, Modern Brain. Thank you so much. That was very generous of you. I appreciate you guys and everybody supporting the channel.
Like, honestly, one of the things I really want to see is John going into a higher tax bracket, because I just really want to laugh at him when he has to pay Canada more money.
Almost 50% of what I make goes to Canada.
So yeah, I think that about the same explanatory power. For example, if you want to explain like the miracles, that can be that supernaturally, I think that can be explained through like other supernatural agents like demons. If you want to explain like the visions of the apostles, that could easily be explained that by maybe a demon fooling their senses. So I think they two have great explanatory power, and I haven't yet found a reason why.
Wait, so does the demon hypothesis actually have the explanatory power? Because just saying there's a demon doesn't generate an expectation. Demons can do theoretically all sorts of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to inject tons of different motivations, different abilities, and get really, really specific with your hypothesis in order to match the explanatory power. Does that make sense?
But isn't the same thing like with the God hypothesis?
I don't think so. Because with God is a very simple hypothesis, right? You have one entity with one property held to the simplest degree, right? No arbitrary limits. And because God is fundamentally a simple thing, but also has the explanatory resources to predict the types of actions that God would do, we can then say that within the category of the best kinds of actions, an incarnation and resurrection would be one of those things. With a demon, you don't. What are the contents of the demon hypothesis other than a supernatural being, right? Which, by the way, to me, it doesn't really seem to be any different, at least personality-wise, if you want to say that, than any other agent that's not going to be perfect. Like, think about it this way: if you have a crime scene and you just say, "Hey, there's 3 people that are suspects," and you don't know anything about their motives, can you actually differentiate between who did it before you look at the evidence?
Yeah, no, you can't. Okay,
No,
I'm
you're going to
finally
have to insert a bunch of ad hoc
yeah,
auxiliary
yeah.
theories, right? And the
Mhm.
same thing happens with the demon. Well, just because there's a demon doesn't mean he's going to be motivated to do this really specific thing, have the power to do this really specific thing. And you get the point, right? Where
Okay,
when it comes to God's existence, well, we just get it for free.
okay. So the demon that I was specifically referring to would be like it would be the Lucifer of the Bible, the one who specifically wants to lead people astray from God. So
I'm sorry, I did not understand what you just said.
He's making the argument that the motivation of this demon would be Lucifer because he wants to lead people astray from God, and he's doing this through Christ.
Right, but why do it in this particular way or anything like that?
I mean, why doing this? Let's say if your presupposal is true, it has been effective because most of the world now will be effective away from God. So that would be a good way
Sure,
of doing it.
there conceivably speaking, there's tons of other ways that they could have done this. Yeah.
Same, I think.
And
I think
and
again,
why do we have this arbitrary limit here? Like, okay, so all of a sudden now these demons have the ability to like raise people from the dead, and all this other stuff. And contrary to the claim is also going to be evidence against it, which, by the way, is the fact that the early church rose out of this and has been bringing people closer to God through the early church, making life on earth better, bringing about the discoveries of science, medicine, all this other stuff. Like, all of that is going to be incongruent with the demon hypothesis as well, right? And so the whole entire point I'm trying to make here is that the simplicity, like, if you want to try to match the explanatory power of God with demons, what you're going to have to do is all you're really doing is saying, hey, well, this doesn't have the explanatory power, but if I add on all these extra theories on top of the demon hypothesis, then I can match the explanatory power. But as soon as you do that, all you're doing is transferring the improbability from the prediction side of things to the simplicity side of things. You just have a really complicated theory now if you're going to try to do that.
So the thing is like, why are we also expect that God will move through incarnation? I mean, God could have just continued with the line of prophets, or could have just leave us alone. So I think also in the God hypothesis, there's also a lot of things that we need to add to to specifically plan out the way it did with Christ, that it was through an incarnation, etc. And
I think we have really good reasons to think that God would become incarnate.
yeah, just send me the sources then so that I should look into it.
I mean, like, here's just one consideration, right? If let's put it this way, you have a boss. Let's just say you're in a company, right? And your manager, you have two different types of managers, right? You have one manager who is looking at his team, sitting on his couch, eating junk food or whatever, right? Whipping his slaves and all this other stuff, saying get to work, right? And then you have the other guy who says, hey, I'm going to join in on the work with you guys. We're going to do this together. Is the guy that jumps in with his team and more admirable than the guy who's just sitting back doing nothing?
The one who jumps with his team is more admirable.
Say it again?
The one that jumps with his team is more admirable.
Yeah. And so in the same way, then, a God who does not enter into creation through an incarnation is exemplifying less virtue or in value than a God who would enter into creation through an incarnation.
Yeah. See, that makes. Yeah, I see your point. Right. Makes sense.
And that's just one example. That's just one example of the many reasons I think we have good reasons to think God would become incarnate.
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing, and that's why I tried to bring out the prophecies, because I thought it would be like a for sure thing to prove that God became incarnate if you can like show it from like the previous revelation. That was the only reason I was trying to bring the old prophecies. It wasn't like to try and make another argument or something like that.
What'd you say, John?
I was telling her to ban somebody who said something wildly inappropriate. In
shorts?
um,
Somebody else might go.
shorts, yeah, in the shorts.
Let's see him. Robot?
Yeah.
I want to know what they said, but I'm not going to ask.
Oh.
Like you guys get what I said?
For the whole proof thing or whatever, yeah, I if I'm understanding you correctly, I just don't think that we have proof of much of anything. If by that you mean like 100% certainty, but if we have just good reasons for thinking that the probability that it's true over and above any of the competing theories that would make it false, then that's I mean, what else are you asking for?
Yeah, that becomes an epistemic nightmare though, because there's so many theories that you have to sift through.
Can you name me one thing that you can really know with 100% certainty besides I exist?
And Than's gay.
I mean, that's just an axiom.
Than is gay.
That's just an axiom. It's basically like the law of identity.
Okay, all right. I'm seeing. Yeah, you're right. I'm seeing. Yeah, I've not seen much to add. You're right.
Yeah. No worries, man.
Yeah. Thanks for the discussion.
All right, man. God bless. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.
Good day.
All right, guys. Once again, also, if you're not smashing the like button, sharing live, doing all the things you need to do so we can get out to the people who need to hear what Than has to say, well, then you're just wasting our time. You have a job to do. We have a job to do. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. Nobody. That's why I brought you up, because everybody's like, I'm sick of Jon. Bring up somebody who's actually smart. All Jon does is run away.
You didn't do that.
I didn't bring up somebody who's actually smart. I'm trying. I only have certain resources, man. I deal with what I got.
I'm just a yapper, man.
There's a lot of axiomatic principles of the tismology going on.
Tismology.
Oh, it's the main. It's slowly but surely becoming my favorite atheist. Wappa Chop. Welcome.
How are you doing, brother?
Good, man. You?
Very well. Had a great day. So yeah, this is a good way to finish the day.
Than, just some context about Wappa Chop. He is this close to being a Christian. He's this close. The only thing stopping him is he doesn't believe in miracles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, hi, Than. I haven't met you before, but I'll definitely check out your channel once we're done. Right, I'll get to it because I know you got other callers waiting to get. Hi, Abby, as well. Sorry, I didn't say
hi.
To Abby. Hey. So before I start, can I ask for you to allow me to build my case? Now, it's going to seem like I'm going to go off on a tangent. I promise you, I will land that plane. So
good with me, as long as it's okay with Daddy.
All right, I'll be quick about it as well. So
wait, Paul, wait, before you start. I love that whenever I call you Daddy, Jon, you do this thing. I don't know. You do this like when I called you Daddy just now, you went like
acknowledgement. Acknowledgement.
Like, yeah, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
So
recognize.
The first thing is it's just going to be a short series of questions about the resurrection, what it means to Christians. First of all, you guys, do you think your Christian faith, the way you express your belief, is that kind of the general consensus of most Christians? Would you say that you are an average Christian?
Well, that depends, right? Because it's such a loaded question. Yes, I'd say like the baseline of what we say is 100% going to be across the board with the vast majority of Christians around the world. When we start getting into tertiary concepts, people might disagree. Yeah,
that's good enough. That's good enough. The resurrection itself.
Mitchell paid me to tell you this, by the way. He says, "Good morning to you." He's talking to you. Can't wait until you're a brother in Christ. And then Eric Bottle came in at $5. Says, "I don't believe in income tax, but I pay it. Belief isn't necessary for something." What? All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
So the next one is from the very little research I've done, I'm not as well versed in the scriptures as you guys are by any stretch. I'm a layman, but it seems like the resurrection is the only miracle that has to be believed not as a symbolic thing, but as a literal thing. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then we go on to, well, why would anyone lie about this? Because realistically, all we've got to go on is testimony, and it's testimony from both believers and some objective non-believers, you know, that never actually converted to Christianity. What was this? Josephus, for example. He was a Jew. He remained a Jew after witnessing the resurrection of Christ. So it kind of
Josephus never witnessed the resurrection.
Oh, he never witnessed it?
No.
Okay, well, that's good for me then. I'll carry on. So that was my next question. How many people did witness the resurrection, and how many of those were believers?
Wait, never mind. Actually, keep going. Sorry,
because this is important for my
21.
21 people witnessed the resurrection, and of those, how many were followers of Christ?
Well, if you witnessed somebody raised from the dead, would you?
No, prior to him being resurrected.
Oh, prior?
Yeah.
A good portion of them. Paul wasn't. James wasn't.
Okay.
That's all I can think of off the top of my head. But
yeah, I would just say Paul and James were not.
Paul and James.
Okay.
Others and there's some that we might just not really know. Like,
I mean, everyone was.
It wasn't all of them. We're saying there were some people that were previously followers of Christ, and there were some people that weren't followers of Christ before the resurrection.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Everyone was not a follower of Christ until Christ showed who he was.
Oh, before. So after that was it. The resurrection was when he showed.
Well, no. But I'm saying is, like, for example, Andrew and John weren't followers of Christ until he did the fisher of men, where he showed the miracle of pulling the fish out of the water, right? Like, none of them were followers of Christ until Christ showed who he was, that he was the Messiah, and that so a large part of them became followers when they witnessed the baptism, right?
Sorry, wait, really quick. We James, Thomas, and Paul would be, if you want to call Thomas initially not a follower because there's that gray area where he was skeptical.
Yeah, I want to narrow it down to this miracle. So up to this point, so those miracles, you know, they had then become followers, and we've now got a collection of people where some of these people's testimony, in my opinion, would be biased if they are already.
But the problem is they become biased because they were convinced before by other miracles. But you're just kind of arbitrarily picking this one point.
Okay, so this is why I said there needs to be groundwork. I'm gonna have to.
Let's just let him.
So then it comes to motive, as to why would anyone lie about this? Why would anyone make this up? It's such a outlandish claim that, you know how they say, you know, the bigger a lie is, the more believable it is, because it's like, why would you lie about something so big, so grandiose? And it's
I don't know about that. I have 17 million plates of gold in my bathroom right now. Is it more likely to be true than if I said I had $5 in my wallet?
No.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Okay. That's totally fair. Yeah. Okay. But it still asks, what was for non-believers of the miracles, you know, as I say, I completely accept the teachings, and I completely accept the morals and the values, which is what I believe was the motive for people to lie about this. It's going to come full circle. I promise you.
Wait, I just want to make sure I understood you correctly. Can you repeat just one more time what you think the motives were for making this up?
Okay, so without context, this isn't going to make sense, but that's why I said I needed a bit of time to land this plane.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to know.
So
yeah, I just wanted to hear that again.
If we've got this guy, Jesus Christ, who has these amazing values and morals, that if we already agreed on this, if everyone was following Christian values and morals, the world would be a better place.
Based.
Whether they were Christian or not, if they're following the values, the world would be a better place. Now we're going back in time where the vast majority of people are basing their morals and values based on religion. We've got this gentleman, Jesus Christ, who's going around with these amazing morals and values, but no one's following him, no one's believing him, no one's adhering to him other than his apostles and a small group of followers. How do we get that out to the world? Whether the resurrection is true or not, how would you get that out to the world so that you would get the most possible followers? Is to have some kind of miracle that tops all other miracles. There's your motive for the lie. It's to further those positive values and to martyr yourself upon those values. So I think that is actually a fair motive for the lie. Just if you want to grant me that, or I'm not disputing whether the right now, I'm just saying, would that not be a fair motive to lie about having witnessed Jesus Christ rise from the grave, if it was to further everyone eventually being having Christian values?
No, I don't think so, because I think that there is no evidence that this was the reason why they proclaimed what they did. In fact, like, presumably, if I'm understanding you correctly, right, like, they had good reasons to not think that this, like, they anticipated a hostile reception to this message.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
It's countercultural, all this other stuff. Wouldn't it make more sense to try to, if you want to try to make the world a better place, wouldn't it make more sense to go within the confines of the systems in power and influence those from the inside?
You also, before you answer, you also have to remember, in this cultural context, this is a realm of, like, when a lot of philosophy was really driving forward, right? We have Aristotelians like virtue ethicism, which is very, very close to, like, Christian ethics as well. And so there would be no need to drive ethics forward by claiming a death and resurrection. You could simply have done it through traditional philosophical means, as we've seen done through, like, Aristotle.
Okay, I'll grant that for sure. It's nothing to be granted. It's facts. However, if the resurrection didn't hurt the Christian faith being spread, did it? It didn't negatively affect it.
No, it did.
Yeah, it did. 100%. Yeah.
The resurrection of Jesus was met with hostility and persecution.
So how come it's the only thing you have to believe in? How come that's like the cornerstone?
What's the logical connection between the two? Because to rephrase my question, right? Like I said, the resurrection of Jesus being proclaimed in this ancient context actually did hurt the progression of Christianity, because
I'll be honest, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no, it was met with hostility, 100%.
There's writings of Nero literally using Christians to light roadways, lighting them on fire, and use them as lampposts.
Okay, well, actually, no. To be honest, in the long run, though, if you're this great mind like Jesus was, he was a teacher, he had philosophical views that were ahead of his time. Is there no possibility that he could have sinned beyond his own crucifixion, beyond the persecution of his own people, to know that this one act would, in the long run, further the cause? Because in the short term, I'll grant you, it definitely.
I mean, he did.
That's fine,
he
but
did.
then that's going to be evidence that he was God, probably. Yeah.
Eric Barlow came in.
Foresight.
Eric Barlow came in $5, says 1 Corinthians 15:17, and if Christ has not been raised, your faith is futile. You're still in your sins. A huge aspect of what's been preached in Christianity isn't just the ethics. Almost everything is on Christ and what he did, and on the cross, and the gospel, and the trust in him, and the faith in him. There's the ethics that stem from that, but like was stated by Eric, without the resurrection, we have nothing. Everything rests on that. Our faith is futile without it. And so what you would expect to see is, if Jesus Christ actually resurrected, is all the things that happen. But if he was just some guy who's like a good philosopher and wanted to spread his good message, I don't think you would expect to see what we did see, which is like the huge amount of persecution, because these people simply could have said, for example, there's a letter between Pliny and I think it's Josephus that talk about what they should do with Christians and how they should get them to rebuke. And all they had to do was walk in and just say, this other God is a God, right? They could have taken Christian, they could have kept the resurrection, they could have done all of that and just said, yep, Jesus is a God alongside all these other gods. And they still could have kept pushing their philosophy, could have kept doing that. But they refused to do that. And so they went under more persecutions. So like, that's what I would expect to see if Jesus is actually God. And in case comes from the Jewish tradition of idolatry being one of the greatest sins. But if it was just some people wanting to spread their philosophy, I would expect them to say, yep, Jesus is just another one of the gods amongst the pantheon of gods. But we have a higher moral standard.
I want to add one more thing, just to kind of bounce off what John is saying here, which is I think we know what it would look like if a quote unquote Messiah figure rose to prominence and had a following and he died and stayed dead. We have examples of that with people like Simon Bar Kokhba, Hezekiah, Ezekias, Judas, Simon of Perea, Othrange the shepherd, Judas the Galilean, Theudas, James and Simon. I can go on. We have tons of examples of Messiah figures that stood for some sort of ideological goal, represented something that was important to a particular culture within the Jewish context, died, and no claims of resurrection happened.
How many of those could the average Joe in the street name?
Who cares?
None is the answer. This is the point I'm making. The one you remember is Jesus because he was resurrected.
Right. But I think that serves that serves as evidence to bolster the case for the resurrection. Why is Jesus so different?
Well, hold on. You're skipping my point here. You gave me a long list of people that met the criteria of being a Messiah on earth but not having a resurrection. I couldn't name any of those. And I'm guessing, unless you read the scriptures, most people couldn't. It's going to be obviously a group of people that can, but you guys do this for a living. If I ask my next door neighbor, they're not going to know those people. But if I ask them, do you know who Jesus was? They'll know him. And that's what I'm saying. Is it not possible that this act of this attempt to create a fallacy, to lie about the resurrection had a motive and an outcome to be an everlasting legacy?
Wait, so are you suggesting that Jesus had the foresight of what his death and alleged resurrection would do, so he told his disciples to lie about it?
Absolutely. Thank you. You've worded it so much better than I could have worded it, man. Thank you. And I was going to go on to explain more about fanaticism and other stuff. I think you've nipped it in the bud right there.
So you're saying Jesus believed in his moral standards so much that he was willing to martyr himself and then lie about it so that the whole world would live by this moral standard,
and get his followers to back up the claim after he was dead. Yeah.
Okay. So I can grant this as a possibility, but possibility is not probability. Why should I believe this?
Okay. The evidence would be around us every day today. In the West, we have Christian values, and it's the best place to live. There's no doubt about it.
I know where you're going, so I just want to pause you there, and because I know Than wants to talk, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but the Christian value argument is also what you would expect to see if Jesus actually resurrected from so you have two hypotheses. You have the hypothesis.
They're not mutually exclusive.
So you have the hypothesis that Jesus lied because he believed in the moral system. And you have the hypothesis that Jesus actually resurrected from the dead. And your evidence is that we see the moral system working today. Well, that moral system would work under both hypotheses. So why is it exclusive to yours?
It's not. I literally say it's not mutually exclusive. But I think when you want to go back to priors and probability, and then you come back to, well, if he did lie about this, I know it's sort of if buts and maybes, but it's then if buts and maybes if he was resurrected, So if he did lie about this and he did get his followers to back the claim after he was gone with the foresight, because you don't know how great a mind he could have been. He could have been he very well was the greatest mind that this world's ever
seen. But you're
seen.
still not kind of answering my question, because the question I originally asked was, why should I believe the case that he is this person that
I
just was
was,
trying to
I was
manipulate
getting,
people?
I was getting to it. I was
Sure.
getting to it. Man, you know me by now. I'm a slow burner. I'd get there eventually, but the fact that we do see Christian values around the world today, and those places that hold them are better than places that don't, would be the
Based.
evidence of why it would have been worth doing. It would have been worth doing, knowing what the horrific experiences that his followers
I'm
and
gonna
himself
push
would
you
have
along
had.
for the sake of time here, but
Yeah,
that's also
sure,
what you'd
sure.
expect to see of Jesus resurrected. So what's your other standard?
Okay, so the other standard is that Edward Hubble was the all-time greatest at writing fiction. This dude managed to get a religion together under Scientology. So
Mhm.
fanaticism's a real thing. People will believe some crazy stuff. I don't actually
Right,
think it's
but
that
that's also what you
far-fetched.
expect to see under the Christian worldview too, because Jesus literally warns that there will be these fanatics that come.
I didn't know that Jesus warned about fanatics. I'll be honest, there's a lot that I don't know.
Mhm.
My entire argument is based on my own logic of how humans behave and
Well, so
altruism and stuff like that, you know.
this is where I'm gonna have this really interesting question here, right? It seems like in order to say that this is your theory, one of the necessary conditions is going to be that you're going to have to just say Jesus was like incredibly smart.
Yeah, that goes without saying. Yeah,
Okay.
the smartest of all time. Yeah.
So with that in mind, it doesn't make sense to me that a person that is incredibly smart can't think of a plan to better their values, to better the values of the world in a different way that doesn't involve him dying.
But it was the best plan. You're talking about him right now, and you believe in him, so it definitely worked.
So that's one consideration. The other consideration is if you think that this is the best plan, that seems like something that God would do. The best plan.
Wow. Is that begging the question? Am I right?
No,
Am
no,
I
no,
using the mic
no, that's
correctly?
fine. That's a
No, I
totally fair
haven't.
question. It's not question begging. It's a conditional statement, right? So
Okay.
I'm not presupposing God exists here, right? I'm just saying if God exists, and as you say, Jesus dying on the cross, and then the spread of Christianity happens on the presumption of the resurrection, right?
Yeah.
Is the best plan for humanity, then doesn't it just follow that God is going to do the best kinds of plans, the best kinds of actions?
Than, you're so sexy when you flex your brain.
Is this the idea that, well, not the idea, the belief that God is all knowing and he knows the outcome of any situation, and he put this plan into emotion,
Well,
as it
I
were?
mean, just to make it really simple, right? Like, do you think that if God is all knowing, God is all powerful and all good, he's going to have the knowledge of he's going to have the knowledge of what the best plans are. He's going to have the knowledge of what the best kinds of actions are. He's going to have the power to do those things. And the desire to do those things because of all those core properties, right?
So
that means he's just going to do that. It just follows that God will have the desire and the power and the knowledge to do the
let
best
me
kinds of actions.
let me translate to Normanese. So God's going to do the best thing, right?
Okay. Assuming God is God, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you're saying Jesus did the best thing.
The best thing at the time, because we got to think this was at the time. Yeah. I don't think it would be the best. I don't think it would work today.
Sure, but it worked at the time. So you confess that Jesus did the best plan, and it was a really good plan because he's a really smart guy.
To spread Christianity. And it worked.
So, right, but that's also what you'd expect to see if Jesus was God.
I mean,
well, let's frame it this way, right? Normal person who's just super smart, or God incarnate. Which one of these better explains the historical reality that we're in, that occupies the story of Jesus?
If you believe the text, then obviously it would be the latter.
Well, we have no positive evidence for thinking that Jesus lied, told us, like, right? This is a hypothesis you're putting up,
Yeah,
but
it's
we
a
have no
complete
good evidence
hypothesis. Yeah.
to support that particular hypothesis, right? So that's just an auxiliary hypothesis we've tacked on that's mutually exclusive to the hypothesis that Jesus was God incarnate and conquered death, right?
Patriotic Z came in with $5, says disciples had nothing to gain and most died horrible, proclaiming Jesus died. Paul lost his vast wealth and respect he had in the Jewish community.
Yeah, for the greater good, though, I'll contest
Well,
that.
yeah, and that just kind of goes back to this, right? Which is if you like a long-standing principle in general has been if you want to change the power, like the ethical systems of different power structures in play, you do that by occupying them from within.
So what you're saying that they should have been pagans and tried to work within, you know,
Yeah, if you're going to change things, why not do it within those paradigms? Do it
I
with
mean,
the Jewish
when you look
pagan
at Rome, I don't think they'd have had a lot of shot, to be honest. The Roman
Well,
society.
they also didn't for the first few hundred years of their Christian lives, right?
No.
It didn't. Like one of the reasons why it started being successful in such a way was because it was Constantine made Christianity legal, and so the persecution stopped.
Okay.
Right? Do you think Jesus would have predicted if Jesus was just a mere human? Do you think he would
I
have seen
do. I do.
hundreds of
Like,
years into the future and been like, yeah, eventually, like, there's going to be
Yes.
this king and he'll make this belief legal?
Yes, and the suffering that the disciples went through is just more credence to the claim. It just makes it more believable.
Where
You
did
know,
John go?
people are like, there's no way these guys would just suffer the persecution if it didn't happen. And that's like, well, what if they did? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's as much.
Oh, well, we're not saying it's impossible, right?
Okay.
What we're saying is that the probability that somebody made this up and suffered in such a way that they have no
With the foresight,
earthly.
knowing that it would spread. Yeah. That's the important
Yeah,
thing.
my question is just going to be, what information did they have access to that gave them the foresight that led to them seeing 2,000 years into the future? Like, to kind of put it bluntly, you have a really, 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 really complex theory.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And the only way,
don't know.
the only way that you're going to really like get that foresight idea out of this is if Jesus was God, in my opinion.
Well, you see, I dispute that. I think that a deeper understanding of how humans operate, if there's a person out there that fully understands it, then they would be able to predict this. Do you know what I mean? They would be able to know how.
Well, but when you say an understanding of how humans operate, then you would expect
Yeah.
to see this happen in more than one closed case.
Not necessarily. There's not that many geniuses. How many Elon Musks are in the world? You know, I say that through gritted teeth.
Well, I mean,
but, you know,
let's pause there for a second. We have a lot of sociological data that basically points in the direction that people that are really, really, really smart, like geniuses of the caliber that you're pointing to, oftentimes also rate lowest when it comes to like ethical decision making and emotional intelligence and all this other stuff.
Exhibit A.
Are you pointing at me?
Well, that's my argument. The fact that you're even considering it's possible is a compliment, in my opinion. I'm not convinced of the resurrection.
Before you bite at the possibility thing, and I apologize for cutting you off again, but it's just that's important. Possibility doesn't mean anything, right? There's a lot of possibilities in the world, right? And it just means it's all possible. All possible is it's logically consistent.
In my opinion, it's more plausible that Jesus was a genius that had the foresight to know the only way to spread his message into the deep future was for him to lie about the resurrection and have his followers persecuted for hundreds of years and himself die in the process. That's my.
Do you?
That's more plausible than a man rising from the dead.
Right. Okay. So that answers the question I was just about to ask, which is, I feel like you're saying this because you just think that the prior probability of miracles in general is so low that something like this is just necessarily going to be more probable.
In my opinion, yeah. I know
Yeah.
you're going to say there's as much evidence for the crucifixion as there is for the resurrection.
No, that's my argument. Than doesn't agree with that argument.
Yeah, I don't like John's argument.
I'm not deep-minded enough to think along those lines. I'm very pragmatic, and that's why I've come to this.
I mean, hey, I am too. I love pragmatism. So, I don't know what Daddy wants to do here, but if you want to talk
hey man,
about...
I've made my case. If it hasn't convinced you, I'll accept I didn't get a taco. That's not to say that I don't love Christians. I love Christians, man. I think Christians are the best people in the world. I'd love to join their ranks, but man, it's these miracles. I've yet to be shown any compelling evidence.
Right. So that's what I wanted to. That's what I was hoping we were going to get into, but we spent all this time on because like I think you're right on the edge of being a Christian, and the only thing stopping you is you don't believe in miracles because you just think the probability is so low that Jesus is more likely to be a demonic clown than actually God. So
I wouldn't say
I want
don't
to.
think it's a
No,
demonic
you
clown.
didn't say that. I'm just using hyperbole. Yeah. But
think
so I do want to focus on why you don't believe in miracles and why they're so unlikely.
I think they're a really useful tool for building mythos, which gave more.
Just real. Sorry, I apologize again. Modern Brain says your super chat is not working for me. Anyone else? Yeah, the super chat's not working, guys. You should all test it out.
Yeah, everybody throw in like, just for good measure, make sure it's not like a glitch that it's just like a $1 super chats. Try to send like a $50 super chat to John. Everybody try to do that right now and make sure that it's working for you, please.
And then check your bank accounts and make sure they dropped and all that too. All right. So yeah, why are miracles so unlikely?
Well, they're supernatural. It's kind of self-evident, isn't it? That it's self-explanatory. They exist outside the laws of nature, which we observe every day, and are unrepeatable.
Okay, so just real quick, you say they exist outside of laws of nature. Are laws of nature descriptive or prescriptive?
I'm going to be really dense here. Do you mean descriptive as in what we see every day, or prescriptive as in what do you mean by prescriptive?
Prescriptive means like it's being assigned. So like I assign to a rock that it cannot break the laws of nature. The former X came in with $20, says super chat test LOL. That one worked, but that one might have been a glitch. So
I don't know that I need more. We need to test and repeat this hypothesis that John's super chats are working. So
peer review it.
Definitely descriptive. Yeah,
it's descriptive, 100%. So if we actually did have like solid, repeatable evidence of Jesus resurrecting from the dead, you wouldn't say, "Oh no, that breaks the laws of nature." You just incorporate that into your current understanding of the laws of nature, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So cool. So then I have to ask you, as you say, well, it's just supernatural, so therefore I have less reason to believe it. Can you give me the difference between the supernatural and the natural?
Yeah, the supernatural is, like I said, it's stuff that we can't do. And actually, the resurrection, we can bring people back from the dead briefly, not after 3 days, not to my knowledge. I've never seen that. Within a few minutes, modern science can get them back from the dead. There are circumstances where people may appear to be dead for multiple days after ingesting certain poisons or having certain conditions. But
sure, but you're giving me examples.
In the whole, we don't see people being resurrected.
Right, but Wapachop, you're giving me examples of what you would consider a miracle. What I'm asking for you is the distinction between the two. Like if you were to give me a definition of a miracle and a definition of a non-miracle, what would those definitions be?
In the spirit of pragmatism, what's his name again? So what's your name again, bro? I'm sorry.
Wapachop.
Fresh
Bueller tested with $20. We're 2 for 2 so far. I think peer review means
I think we need our reference class to have like a population size of like 50 at least.
Eric Barlow came in with $2 and says in the Newspeak Google enforces. Listen,
I didn't see that.
The for evolution.
Yeah,
For
what's your
evolution, there's
opinion?
50,000 peer-reviewed papers. I'm just saying.
So
Roland says seems to work for me. All right, go ahead,
I
guys.
don't know. Sorry. Wait, in the spirit of pragmatism,
can't
really quick,
define it.
Waka Flocka. I'm just gonna say
Waka
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 Flocka.
Flocka.
Sorry. I don't know if I don't know if I'm showing my age there. Do you guys remember Waka Flocka?
We're all old fan. Get on to the point.
Okay, fair enough. In the spirit of pragmatism, here's where John is going with this. And I'll just kind of speak for myself. I would deny the supernatural natural distinction. I don't think it actually is a useful distinction, and I don't think it's actually pointing to something that other distinctions haven't done already. So, like, at the end of the day, supernatural distinction can be broken down to, is this an immaterial agent? It seems like, right? Well, we have agent, non-agent distinctions, and we have material, immaterial distinctions. So what is the supernatural natural distinction doing that those two other distinctions are not doing?
You've lost me, man. I'll be completely
That's totally
honest.
okay.
I'll try to simple. Can I try to normalize?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So you have material things and immaterial things, right?
Okay, what's an immaterial thing? What,
It'll be like a
thought?
concept. Yeah,
A concept,
sure.
a thought. Okay.
Yeah. And then you have agents and non-agents. So like Than's an agent. He's the agent of the FBI. And then my couch is not an agent. Right? It's a couch.
Movers, divine movers,
Sure.
and non.
Oh, just persons, right?
Yeah, persons. Cool. What distinction between miracle and non-miracle is different than just saying agent and non-agent and material and non-material?
I still don't know where you're going with this.
Well,
why do I need to use the word miracle when I can just use the descriptive nature of agent, non-agent, material, and immaterial?
Well, so let me try to land. Let me just kind of explain a little bit, because what you're saying is that miracles are improbable because they're supernatural, right?
Yeah,
You're using the
and
category
maybe the terminology is wrong here. I don't know, because it seems to be something we're really hung up on. But carry on.
Well,
man.
so it's not just about the terminology. What I'm trying to do is eliminate roadblocks that don't actually need to be there in the first place.
Okay.
Because what you're saying is, well, the supernatural is improbable, and I'm saying, well, what do we mean when we say that word? Because if you're just saying something immaterial has a low probability, well,
Extraordinary, then. Yeah, it's something
sure,
we
okay,
don't see in our ordinary life. Yeah.
let's pause there then. What do we mean by the word extraordinary? Because it sounds like what you could be saying is infrequent, or you could be saying this, and I hope you're not saying something like this, which is just like religiously significant.
Well, I think miracles are one-offs, though, aren't they? They're not repeated. Like,
right. So it's a frequency claim.
But it's not even a frequency claim. Like, a frequency has to occur more than once, right? Or
No,
is once
you could say the
Once is
frequency
enough?
of you can say the frequency of something within a class could be one.
Okay,
And so
well
if they're
then, yeah,
one out of 100 or something
it's a
like that.
frequency thing then. If you really want to break it down to its most raw thing, like, then yeah, the frequency of it, I guess, is so low
Okay.
that.
Do you?
It's,
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were to say something like this, for the resurrect, like, let's just zero in on the resurrection for now. Would you say your argument is something like this? The dead people stay dead, right? So basically, like, if you were to take the sample size of humans and had 10 million humans and none of them rose from the dead, that means the frequency of the frequency of resurrections within the reference class of humans is 0. So that means the probability is 0, or at least really close to 0, right?
Yeah, you're going to say.
Would you say that's your argument for, like?
Yeah. It's more than that, though, isn't it? It's more than 10 million. So it's actually.
Well, yeah.
like,
I'm just
all
kind of
of
throwing a
human
number out there, right?
existence.
Like,
Yeah,
it's a big schmillion, right?
Schmillion. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's
John's
really
got to
low
do a
frequency.
super chat thing.
Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief. Friend, have you tried humbling yourself and asking for dreams and signs? He answers people who honestly seek him. You don't have to answer that. I have to read the super chats because I'm an internet slot machine.
So So let's just tackle this frequency point for now and kind of like go piece by piece. I think that'll be the most helpful. Otherwise, I don't want us to kind of go in zigzags, if that makes sense. So I agree in one sense that the frequency of events is a probative point. It's an important point for figuring out what the prior probability is of any particular thing, right? However, I don't think it's the only thing in question that's important to consider. And if it was, then I think we have some other issues at play.
Yeah, like we wouldn't have landed on the moon. It was a 0 probability chance of landing on the moon 100 years
Well,
ago.
even just when it
300
comes to
years
like,
ago. Yeah, I get the probability thing of 0, and it's just we did land on the moon. You know.
well,
We-
let's get moon landing. The moon landing's conflating an issue here, right? Because I guess you could treat did we land on the moon as a hypothesis, right? And if we're looking
Oh
back,
no, I wasn't disputing if we did or not. I was just saying, if you go back far enough in
oh, I
time
know, I didn't
and
think you
you
were.
ask someone, "Are we ever going to land on the moon?" and they'd say the probability is 0. Nobody's ever landed on the moon, so it could never possibly happen.
Right.
And same with air travel and stuff like that. But
Okay, so you like, for instance, do you believe in like abiogenesis?
What is abiogenesis?
Like the scientific models for how life originated on Earth.
I don't know how life originated on Earth. I'm not going to pretend that we know.
No, that's
how
totally
life-
fine.
I
But
don't
you believe it at minimum, right? That at one point on Earth there was no life, and at one point there was.
Yeah.
Right. So scientists are coming up with different models to try to explain this, right? And I'm not disputing these models either. I'm just kind of pointing to this counterexample here of the frequency claims, right? Because we've never observed it or replicated the action of life originating from non-life. We have attempted to do so. We might be getting close. I'm not sure exactly where we're at on that at the moment, but I know we haven't done it yet. We've never observed it. And so the observed frequency of life coming from non-life is 0. But we know that life originated on Earth at some point, right? Because we have good evidence to suggest that it did.
Yeah.
And in the same way, it's like, well, if you've never observed a resurrection, right? And the frequency of observed resurrections is 0, but you have really, really strong testimonial evidence that Jesus rose from the dead, shouldn't that be something that points you in the direction that he rose from the dead?
Well, that was we've gone full circle. That was the whole point of what would be the motive to lie about this? What would be the motive to have these false testimonials?
No.
And I gave my argument for that.
No. That's not the
Right, but
question
you're
he's
saying that
asking.
you're saying that the motive to lie and all these, because basically what you're saying is, hey, here's this conspiracy theory that we have again, we don't have evidence to
It
suggest
is a
that there was
conspiracy theory. I'll grant you
going
that for
on,
sure.
right? Say it again.
It is definitely a conspiracy theory. I'll grant you that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
So
based
we have
in
this giant
anything.
conspiracy theory that we don't have any evidence for. We have evidence against the conspiracy theory, both internal to the texts, external to the texts, and modern sociological and socio-psychological data. And you have the conspiracy theory that you don't have evidence for is also not very simple. So the prior probabilities can be really low, right?
Well, I don't think it's that unfeasible. I think bigger conspiracies have been proven to be true. I mean,
Right, but that's the important factor is these other conspiracy theories, because there's a difference between simplicity and having evidence for something. So you could have a massive conspiracy theory that was proven to be true, but it had the evidence to match for it, right? But we don't have the evidence to suggest that this conspiracy theory was there. We have evidence against it.
Okay, and it's kind of it's a circular argument though, because the evidence for the miracle is the claim, and then the evidence for the conspiracy is if the claim were to be a false claim and believed, then it would further the word of Christ. And what do we see? We see the word of Christ furthered. So and as I say, I'll go right back to the beginning, man, because like,
do you think?
I think it's more probable, personally, that this was a conspiracy than the idea of a man being raised from the dead.
But why? Other than the frequency thing, like let me address the thing you just said really quickly, because you said it's a circular argument. It's not. If that was the case, then you shouldn't believe that your parents are your parents.
I don't
There's
know.
a claim from your parents that they are your parents. There's a claim from the doctors and all this other stuff. But hey, there could be this big conspiracy theory from the nursing staff, the doctors, your parents.
Some adopted kids have that in real life.
Sure, but I'm talking about you in specific.
Live that. So,
but hold on, I'm talking about you in specific, right? All the testimony surrounding the origins of your birth, who your parents are, who your family is. It could be part of a giant conspiracy theory. And look, the prior probability that you are going to be the son of those two unique people, because there's a schmillion people in all of human history. It's 1 in a schmillion. So the prior probability is really low, and there's this conspiracy theory that would match the explanatory power of all the data. Are you kind of seeing the parallels here? Of why
I am. I don't think it's not apples to apples, but
the structure of reasoning is the same, right?
Yeah, but I think me being adopted and not knowing about it is less likely.
No, you were kidnapped. We're going to take this conspiracy theory full swing.
Okay, sure thing. I was kidnapped by my parents
because you were a beautiful baby, and they thought, man, this guy's going to be.
But the thing is, what Than is doing is he's introducing something that is possible but complex and making it less likely than they're just your parents.
And I'm saying the prior probability that you are going to be the son of your parents in specific is really low, because there's a schmillion people out there, which gives us a quadrillion, whatever half of it is, but whatever you want to say, right? There could be a bajillion couples out there that could all have kids. What are the odds that you are going to be the son of this particular 1 in quadrillion people? That seems like astronomically low.
Yeah. The only evidence I have that I'm not that is the explanatory evidence. Yeah. Well, not testimony, blood, DNA, scientific.
All of which you take the interpretation of that data from.
Yeah, somebody wrote that down and handed to me and say, this is, I get what you're saying. It comes from a position of authority, somebody saying this, and it's all explanatory evidence. I haven't got a DNA testing kit of my own to go and test, so how would I really know? I understand your argument. I struggle to see how it makes it any more plausible that the resurrection occurred.
Yeah. I'm not arguing. This is not an argument for the resurrection. All I've done at this point was take the reasons that I'm basically what I'm doing is Kevin gestured towards a few reasons for thinking that miracles and something like the resurrection are just so improbable or implausible. And I'm showing, okay, well, let's just take the same structure of reasoning that we're using against the resurrection and applying it to all these other places. And when we do that, we get really, really, really counterintuitive results.
We do.
So all that this should tell you, just to be clear, is that the reasons that you think you have for thinking that the resurrection is really, 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 really improbable are not good reasons.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. No, I can accept that.
Okay.
I just, again, I don't think I'll ever believe in miracles, man. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever going to be able to convince me of that.
I mean,
don't give him the finger, Than.
Oh, sorry. I got something in my eye.
Wow, dude.
It's my longest finger, and I got glasses.
Wow,
so it's
that's like actually a ridiculously long finger too. Like That middle finger goes on for days.
I have giant hands, dude.
You know what they say about giant hands?
And feet. I'm 5'7" and I wear a size 12.
Bro,
That's crazy.
Bro,
Big
when bro needs to rest, he just leans forward a little bit.
Listen, I appreciate you've got other callers. And Than, man, it's been great talking to you, mate.
Waka, yeah, Waka Flocka. I know that's not your name, man, but like it's stuck. Your name is not Waka Flocka. I'm sorry.
It's cool, man. I'll take it. It's all right.
Seriously, man, if you ever want to talk in private, shoot me an email, than@inspiringphilosophy.com. Like, I'd love to talk to you some more.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. I will do. Is all this going to be in the description on the video, John?
Abby, can you put it in the description?
His email?
Well, no, I don't know if Than wants that in there.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Than, let me just write this
my
down.
email is public, so
yeah, put his email in the description. Guy, don't email me, Waka. I will not email you back.
yeah. Just to be clear, this is a special invitation to Waka Flocka.
Thank you, brother.
Both
I'll
him
just write
and
it
the
down.
musical artist, if you're listening. I would talk to him, make him see if he wants to become a Christian. But I just do not. I like that's a special invitation to you, Waka. I unfortunately just do not have the time to give a lot of people that type of conversation.
I appreciate that, brother. I really do. And I didn't win a taco again. Is that what I'm hearing here? No.
Are you from the States, Waka?
No, I'm from the UK.
Okay.
The United Kingdom.
I'll be in the UK next summer, I think. I don't remember off the top of my head. For a conference. So maybe we can meet up because you'll hopefully you'll be a Christian by then, and I'll get you some curry.
Never say yes, mate. Yeah, never say never. As I say, I really, Christians are my favorite people, and I wish I had your conviction. I really do.
All right, Wappa Chop, Waka Flocka Wappa Chop. God bless you, man. Thanks for a great conversation.
Thanks again. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Peace.
Later, bro.
So we got time for a few really short, stupid combos or one really long, good combo. That's all we got left, and then we got to shut it down. Than's got to get back to being a model. Flex for us again, Than.
I'm not a piece of meat. That's not happening.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Be a piece of meat.
I will have
daddy.
to prep because Mike and I are going. Mike and I will be live tonight, and I still haven't watched the video that we're responding to.
Come on, Than. Flex for daddy.
If people, hold on. I will flex if we, I don't know how much money we're in super chats for you right now, but if we get to $300, $400,
wow,
I will flex for people.
Than plugs me more than I plug me, which is great.
He's not cheap.
He's not cheap. Listen, I don't think you guys know how much I had to pay Than to be here today. It's crazy.
All right. John's lying to you. He did not have to pay for this.
Yeah, like I said, they didn't know how much I had to pay you. I'm not lying. I told the truth.
Okay,
the answer is zero.
Fair enough.
Bringing in the next guest. The Scouse Revert. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you? How old are you? Yeah. All right, let me bring you in. All right, man. Jesus Christ rose from the dead. Prove us wrong. Win a taco. Go ahead.
Oh, a taco. What flavor taco?
Whatever you want, man.
Okay. Do you deliver to Liverpool in the UK?
We'll just do Uber Eats or Lyft or whatever you have.
Okay. Got it. Cool. So, nice to meet you. By the way, what's your names? Because I was doing some doom scrolling earlier.
I'm John. This is Than. Both of us together are Jan.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
my name's Joe. My name's Joe, by the way.
Joel?
Joe. Joe.
Okay. All right, man.
Yeah. So, yeah, nice to meet you guys. First time I've stumbled across your stream. So, Yeah. So just to ask you guys a couple of questions, just so I know where you are, not physically, but so do you believe Jesus is God?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then do you believe that the reason? Sorry, there was an echo there. Do you believe the reason that Jesus was crucified and raised again was because of original sin?
Because of what?
Original sin.
Because of, I'm not too sure how this is relevant.
Wait, are you saying was crucified because of original sin?
No, I'm saying, I'm just trying to clarify what your understanding of the purpose of why Jesus was crucified and resurrected.
Right, but this is more like a theological conversation of like what is sin, what is original sin, what is the purpose of atonement. This is a tertiary conversation rather than the focus of did Jesus Christ actually die and resurrect.
Okay. Sorry, it's just I'm just trying to understand where you lie, you know.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's irrelevant. So me and Than may have different views on atonement, which is what you're specifically asking for, but that wouldn't change the fact on whether or not he resurrected.
Okay. So are you trying to do, because personally I would try to argue this from a scriptural standpoint to show that there was no purpose or reason for Jesus, peace be upon him, to be crucified or resurrected. But are you trying to look at this from outside of
Yeah,
scripture?
that's just armchair psychology, right? You're just kind of assuming what people's intents or reasons that they would do things. I'm more interested in the historical context on whether it actually happened. I'm not interested in whether they had a motive, although motive is a big part in assuming like and understanding the context. But simply stating that it did not happen because their motive would not be there is not an argument.
So then what is your evidence for Jesus being crucified and resurrected?
And this would be like the historic reportage model. This would be like Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, the epistles, and so on.
So then that's where we get into scripture.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's where I would try to show from a scriptural standpoint that there was no purpose for the crucifixion or
Right.
resurrection.
Again, but you're doing it through
Hold on.
motive.
You can look at the scriptures without treating them as scriptures, right?
Okay.
Like in other words, we can look at the documents not as scripture, for instance, but as just historical documents.
But then if we look at them as just historical documents, then there are no gospels or scriptures from the lifetime of Jesus to show that they were eyewitness testimonies.
What?
What's your argument here?
I said if we're looking at them as just historical documents, then there is no gospel or scripture from the New Testament that
it still exists. What we're talking about is a goal when you're reading it, right? So historians are going to look at the Gospels from the perspective of what happened in history. They have no interest in coming to a theological conclusion. You're asking us what our theological conclusions are. We're looking at it from a historical perspective of did he actually resurrect?
Yeah, but when I asked you for your evidence, you presented the Gospels, and
yes.
none of the Gospels are
hold
from
on.
the lifetime of Jesus.
But if we're
Christ.
treating them as historical documents and not scripture, that doesn't mean they don't exist. Are you more so just saying that like the Gospels are detached historically from the events that they aim to report on, or like what?
No, what I'm saying is that there are no Gospels from the lifetime of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
So therefore, how can we accept them as eyewitness testimony?
Do you accept? Well, okay, hold on. There's two questions that are kind of embedded in this, right? Let's talk about the chronological aspect first. Do you accept the overwhelming like history that we have in the classical period in general?
In relation to what?
Well, I mean, like, relatively speaking, because I think Mark's gospel was probably written in like mid 40s, maybe early 50s, right? So relatively speaking, that's a 15-20 year gap. Is that really such a big deal that it's eliminating the possibility of reliability and eyewitness testimony being embedded and sourced within the text?
I'm just saying that because it's not from the lifetime of Jesus Christ, you can't
It isn't
necessarily
the lifetime.
Pardon?
It is in the lifetime, right? Like it's within the time period that the people who
hold
know
on.
Jesus would still be alive.
Why is there a bow on my head? What am I? Sorry. I got really distracted there.
I didn't see a bow on your head.
On the TikTok thing, there was a bow. Anyway. Okay. Lifetime. Let's nuance what we're saying here really quickly, right? Are the Gospels written within the living memory of the eyewitnesses?
Some of them, yeah. Well, no, I'm going to say some of them. I mean, within some of the lifetime of some of the apostles, and some of the scripture, not all of the scripture.
But I'm just talking about the Gospels and Acts. So can we just like can we try to be specific with our language?
Yeah.
So are the Gospels and Acts written within the living memory of the disciples and the early eyewitnesses of the resurrected Jesus?
I'll accept that, yeah.
Okay. So lifetime of Jesus, living memory of the historical Jesus. We don't have the lifetime of Jesus because he wasn't without question begging, right? He wasn't alive if he died and stayed dead, right? But within the living memory of the event of the people that would have been there to witness the crucifixion of Jesus, we have Gospels and Acts that are situated within the living memory of that time and the people that would have seen it. So what's the problem?
I mean, I don't necessarily want to use the word problem, but it's just that you presented it as the evidence that supports your claim.
Yeah.
So,
right. And it's still evidence because it's within the living memory. We have reliable documents that are within the living memory of the people who claim to have seen the risen Jesus. So we have evidence.
That would take me on to the other issue or problem, if you want to call it that, which is the anonymity around the sources of the gospel.
Well, hold on. Now you're changing topics.
Well, no, that's no.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
I don't
totally
really
fine.
want to. It's just with the caveat there.
Well, no, that's. I mean, that. Am I doing internet nonsense again,
No,
or am I good?
Here. You're still.
Oh, okay. Sorry. It looked like I froze. That's fine. So are you willing to concede that the whole like these weren't written within the time frame, the lifetime of Jesus? That argument is a no go.
I mean, we can put it to one side for the moment, if you like.
Well, I'm not interested.
Well,
sorry, I'm not interested in putting it to the side, right? Because then once we put it to the side, you're just going to come all the way back. Before we move on to another topic, are you willing to concede the fact that in the time frame doesn't change the credibility of the evidence?
Well, that's why I caveated the anonymity of the authors into it, because even if we accept the Gospels are written within the lifetime of the apostles.
Right, well, we can get to that topic, but I just want to know: are you conceding that the time frame is irrelevant here because it is within the time frame of the memory of Jesus?
Okay, we can move on from that if you like.
Not moving on from it if I like. I'm asking: are you conceding that point?
Yeah, I mean, I can concede this, and we can move on. Yeah, no
okay, awesome. So then the time frame is perfectly fine. Go ahead.
Okay, traditional authorship. Why should I think that the authors of the Gospels are not Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John?
Mm-hmm.
You're the one that said they're anonymous, yeah?
Yeah. So, sorry, did you ask me a question then? Sorry.
Yeah, you're making the argument. You made the claim that the Gospels are anonymous. Can you give us an argument for why we should think that?
Well, because none of the Gospel authors, apart from probably Luke, claim to be written by those apostles.
Okay.
And even when we look at Luke,
Sure.
Luke wasn't.
There's a distinction to be made here between internal anonymity and strict anonymity. You can have a document that is internally anonymous. In other words, the author doesn't reference themselves in the work, and then you can have a work that is strictly anonymous, in which the author doesn't reference themselves in the work, and nobody knows who wrote it. Right? There's a distinction between the two. So I'm not asking about why we should think they're internally anonymous. That's fine. But that doesn't tell us that we don't know who the authors were. Why should we think that they're strictly anonymous?
So where do we get that understanding from then?
Say when?
Where do we get that understanding of who the authors were?
Are you saying how do we know they're not anonymous?
Yeah, how do we actually go to those people?
Well, a big thing that we can go off of, and I can let Than go as well, is there's two main things that I would say. First is that every single manuscript that we have found that contain like the first pages or entire copies have the names attributed to them, and there is no contention within those. And then also we have a unanimous amongst the early church on agreement on who the early authors were. I actually don't even see a reason to hold to unanimous authorship. Strictly outside them just not saying I, John, wrote this.
But if we look at Luke's gospel, Luke does claim to be the author.
Sorry, say that again?
I said when we look at Luke's gospel, Luke does claim to be the author.
No.
No, he never says I am Luke. He addresses Theophilus, but he never claims to be Luke in the gospel. And Luke does use like first person plural language in the book of Acts, for instance, with the we passages, but that seems to support the idea that the author of Luke's gospel and in Acts is Luke. Yeah.
Just a quick super chat, guys. Justin Young came in $5. I stated this before. If the Gospels weren't from their accredited authors because they're anonymous, then Hamilton didn't write the Federalist Papers. It's on you, Joe.
Sorry, what are you asking me for?
Why should we believe they're anonymous?
Yeah, because he said that Luke identifies himself as the author, and he doesn't. He addresses Theophilus. That's about it. He uses first person singular and plural language.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what? Like,
so I'm just still trying to understand how we get to the understanding of who the authors actually are.
Right. I already told you. The reason is every single manuscript has their name on it. Says the gospel according to Matthew or the gospel.
Well, let me
and
nuance.
all of the church history collectively agree on who the original authors were. This would be the two pieces of evidence that I think is very strong. Now we can go more into the nuance of that, but you have to show me like an issue with that. And Than, you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was just going to nuance the manuscripts. Isn't just an important caveat. All the manuscripts that we have, the top part or the ending bottom part of the manuscripts contain the traditional authorship ascriptions to them. We don't have a single manuscript that does not have a missing piece where the title should be that does not have the names on it.
I mean, I would have to go and research that. I can't necessarily speak to that claim of each or every manuscript. So
I can show you. I mean, I can't share my screen.
You can send it to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can just show you a picture from scholarly sources.
Was that Bauckham that had that? No, it was Petrie, wasn't it? Because I think I have it too. Huh?
I don't know. I'm just saying a joke.
Patriotic Z said, dude just buried the Quran. They don't have the Quran of the Uthman Usar Qadi. Recently have proven the hadith reliability is a joke. I'm just reading the super chat, my friend. You don't have to address it. Abby, are we anywhere near Than flexing?
I don't think so.
Here, I DM'd you.
No.
I DM'd you.
Okay.
A thingy thing.
All right, you see that there?
I'll have to make my screen bigger. 1 second, brother.
I'd be surprised if you can read it.
Yeah, so I can read it for you, but basically it's giving the manuscripts what they are, when they're dated, and what it's titled above. So, for example, the first one is the Gospel according to Matthew. This is Papias 4. This is dated 2nd century. Next one, Gospel according to Matthew, Papias 62. The third one, according to Matthew, Codex Sinaiticus. According to Matthew, Codex Vaticanus. Gospel according to Matthew, Codex Washingtonianus. Gospel according to Matthew, Codex Alexandrius. Gospel according to Matthew, Codex Ephraim. Gospel according to Matthew, Codex Beast. And this just continues and continues and continues, right? And we don't have a single one that has the titles. Not one. Not a single one that has the titles that attributes a different name or has it anonymous.
Yeah, but that's being written by people after the fact.
Well, that's fine. You still have to give me an argument why you think it's anonymous.
Well, okay, look, hold on. Just saying, okay, well, that's papyri written after the fact. Okay, here's the question. Why are those names on those papyri rather than any other names? Because presumably what you're going to say is that people attach these names for authority or something like that, right? Like, our hypothesis.
Yeah, the issue that is
let me finish.
Sorry.
Our hypothesis is the reason why those names are there is because the authors of those gospels were Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. What is your counter hypothesis?
Well, without coming up with a hypothesis, my issue with those when I say those things are being written after the fact is that there's no chain of narration in between the people who wrote those names.
Yeah, you're just taking a criteria. You're just taking
of what?
Hold on, but you're just taking a criteria that is an Islamic viewpoint and then applying it to Christianity. You're not giving us argument for why it's anonymous, right? You're just saying there's no criteria. So there, hold on, let me line this. No criteria, so therefore it's not anonymous. In this case, we have a unanimous agreement, but in areas where we actually are not sure about the authorship, so for in Hebrews, we see disagreement. So again, what hypothesis do you have to say that, hey, these are unanimous outside of just arguments of silence?
Really quickly, what was the thing? Is he saying chain of custody thing or chain of narration?
They had this idea in Islam that's a chain of narration for the hadith that they can chain all the way back to the original person. It's nonsense, but I don't get into that
Papias
argument.
knew John.
But I mean,
Papias literally says that that John is still alive as he's discussing John's gospel.
Who is that? Sorry,
Papias, early church writer. So there is a chain.
No, it's him claiming that what he's writing is from him.
What do you say? What are you saying? Sorry.
So Papias, who you mentioned, he is the one claiming that it was written by John. Or that
right.
He was a student.
And he quotes John in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is your objection here?
So Papias, who claims to be a student of John, right?
Well, here, let me just read you this quote from Papias, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And whenever, what?
Sorry, I was just gonna say.
What? Okay. And whenever anyone who came who had been a follower of the elders, I asked about their words, what Andrew or Peter had said, or Philip and Thomas, or James, or John, or Matthew, or any of the Lord's disciples, and what Aristion, the presbyter John, disciples of the Lord, were still saying. So notice the language here. He's speaking of who? Philip, Thomas, James, John, Matthew, or any of the Lord's disciples, and what they were still saying.
Okay.
Papias is around while these people are still alive. These are the people of which the Gospels are authored. The Gospels are said to have been authored by. There's your chain.
I wouldn't necessarily agree. but atheist or Catholic, whatever you want to call him. How old was he?
You also kind of sound like you're in a wash tub. I don't know if you're using headphones or not, but if you can you take them out?
No, I'm not using headphones. I'm just using like a camera with a mic.
So what's the objection here?
There's a little bit of an echo, and then like a squeaking noise.
Okay, so what's your objection? Why do we not have a chain of narration? Why is it not good?
So you mentioned Empire. Yeah, I'm gonna have to be careful here because I need to lower my own thing because it's repeating back. So if you guys do speak,
okay. Well, I think it's probably best that we jump on then because it is very hard to hear you. But I do appreciate you coming up, my friend.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, before I go, I would just say that without doing like the external critique, for me.
God bless. I don't know what he was saying. Well, technically we got 5 minutes left, but bringing up a guest with only 5 minutes left doesn't make any sense. So we'll probably call it there. I know Than's got to prepare for work tonight. Get ready for that.
Forgot to eat today.
Yeah. Round of applause for Than coming on for this nonsense today. Abby's the only one applauding. No one in the chat applauded. I could tell no one applauded. Matt's also in the chat. Hello, Matt. What?
I don't blame people for not applauding me. Matt's in the chat. Matt.
All right, guys. We'll do a quick little prayer. I'll do a quick little plug, and then we'll do our little hangout bit. Than, you can stick around if you want to for that. You don't have to. We just answer questions that people have. So let's get into it. Our Father is in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our debts as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for these wonderful conversations. Lord, bring Wappa Choppa Walk of Flame into the kingdom. That's the man that we're looking for. So I just ask that you tug on his heart and show him the reality of the nature of who you are, but also do that for everybody that we're talking to today and everyone we've had conversations with. Guide us, forgive us of our sins, be patient with us, continues to give us grace, and don't let the people watching be armchair Christians. Give them opportunity to share the gospel and give their talents that they have every single day. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Father,
Amen.
Son, Holy Spirit. All right, guys. Quick little plug before we go. Do you want to plug yourself first?
I'm just a dude on the internet on a channel.
Cool. All right.
Inspiring philosophy. I mean, people know.
And we're so famous. We don't need to plug anything, especially on it. Anyways.
Oh
So if anybody,
if
anybody wants to support me, support my channel, you can do so on Patreon. Patreon link is down below if you want to click it. We offer 2 packages. The Squires package is $4.99. This will get you access to the Tuesday, Thursday replay videos. If you missed them, you'll be able to watch them again. But if you want to support the channel a little bit more, you get the Knights Templar, which gives you access to the replays. You'll also get daily devotionals done specifically by me, Monday through Friday. And you also get 1 exclusive with the goal of 2 exclusive videos a month that's specifically for you. So if you want to help this channel, you want to help it grow so we can continue to do things like bringing on Than, talk to bigger and more complex groups, do some debates, whatever it may be. If you want to see the channel grow, pray about it, see if it's good for you, and this is the best way to do it. If not, obviously super chats, PayPals, those are great ways to help the channel. And on top of it, just watching and sharing and doing all that stuff before. Begging for money, just like any other church. I'm not a church. I'm not a church.
Not begging for money. I'm begging for money for him.
No, I'm begging for, I don't care, but I'm not a church. I'm an entertainer. It's a YouTube channel. Oh my God, the guy who runs a YouTube channel wants money. How traditional people who run YouTube channels want money.
Look, man, if you just are mad about people asking for money for what they're doing, that's fine. Just be consistent. Like, be mad at the other YouTubers and stuff like that out there, like gamers who are asking for donations for providing entertainment. But if it's just because John represents religion that there's an issue.
Gabriel came in with $2, says this should cover Than's next appearance.
$2.
Than anymore. You kidding me? You kidding me? I'm not paying that, man. All right, guys, we're going to be live just on YouTube for the next 5 or 10 minutes or so. So if you have any questions for myself or Than, head over to there. Links in the bio. I also forgot to mention we're live on X now as well. So this has also been live on X. We're just shutting it down on TikTok. So anybody watching on TikTok, head over to YouTube at Big John Steele if you have any questions for this handsome man, or if you want to convince him to flex. Because my goodness, your arms are so freaking massive. It's crazy. It's embarrassing. I flexed and he flexed and it made me feel so tiny.
I feel like the camera doesn't actually pick up on.
Oh, it picked up, man. It picked up. All right, everybody watching on TikTok, we'll see you on Wednesday.
It's the body dysmorphia kicking in.
And now it's just YouTube for anybody has any questions.
Do you want me to stop X?
No, we'll keep X going for now. I just TikTok. I just want people off TikTok. I have the goal where I'd never have to go live on TikTok again. That's my goal. So I'm just using it to draw people into this platform. If we get big on X, that's great. That's great. Than actually said they're bigger. Oh my God. I was baptized yesterday. I can already feel the difference. I can feel the warmth of God's grace burn in my chest. Amen. Hallelujah.
Based.
That is super based. Super based. Than, I was going to ask you, does the color red exist in space and time?
Are you asking, like, man, I don't know how to answer this question. Because I don't think I purposefully pulled up a red screen here, right? Because I don't think that the screen I'm looking at right now is red, right? It's the light that I'm picking up and actually seeing, right? So what is that thing? Well, I don't know, right? But like, I guess what is the point of the question? What are you trying to ask?
Well, red is an oddity, right? It doesn't actually like red. There isn't what makes redness is from the perception, right? So if I was to try to make, Abby, this makes me so angry. If I was to try to make a claim of where red is and when red is, it does not seem I could do it. So does red exist in space and time?
Yeah, I would just say no.
So we'd say that we have things that we are aware of that are spaceless and timeless?
I would say the proper, like, you have to be careful with your language here.
Yeah.
Because I would say, like, the property of reflecting the wavelength red does exist within space and time. But as like a abstract universal principle, I would say no.
Right. So would you say like would you say abstracts exist? As another thing.
No, I'm a nominalist.
What the hell does that mean? No?
It don't. I'm not a Platonist.
Okay.
And so I don't like, I think a lot of these things I don't ground a lot of these concepts is all I'm trying to say. So
no, concepts do not exist.
Not in the sense that I think you're trying to point to.
I don't know what I'm pointing to. I'm genuinely asking. I'm not building an argument.
Oh, yeah. I just don't think they exist in the sense that like they exist outside of minds or something like that. But they're not like universal principles or things that properties or values are grounded in.
Well, hold no, I think conflating the word existence here, like, because you'd say that if I think of a unicorn, that unicorn has essence.
Wait, what?
If I'm thinking of a unicorn, it has essence, even though doesn't have being.
Right. I'm not using exist in that sense.
Okay, so how are you using the word exist?
Has like a metaphysical ontology outside of like the physical world.
So it's physical only?
No, I'm saying in particular, like when we're talking about concepts, right? And we're talking about things like moral values or different properties, right? different people are going to have metaphysical conceptions about this. There's going to be the Platonist conception that there's abstract objects that ground these things. And then there's going to be like the divine conceptualist view that all these things are just grounded inside the mind of God, or the nominalist view, which is these things. What?
No.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Where these things don't exist in any of those two senses of the word exist, but do exist within like the cognitive experiences of perceivers and stuff like that.
So it does exist.
Yeah.
Okay. So
It's
it
just
has.
Yeah, but the word exists there, just needs to carry that context with it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So then can we say that there are spaceless, timeless things that exist?
If you want to say that, you're going to have to argue that those ideas that you have are inside a mind that is at least partially immaterial. Does that make sense?
You just got tagged.
What?
No, I'm just joking.
Oh no, I did not
know,
tag because
I know you didn't. I know you're not a fan of the
because
tag
humans
argument
that humans would be partially immaterial. If
right.
you say that.
Oh, so you're saying humans would? Okay. All right. Anyways, I'm gonna get lost in the sauce then. That's all I really wanted to.
Wait, you wouldn't say that a human is only the immaterial mind.
I wouldn't say that. No.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I'm saying.
But an atheist would. A lot of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm saying you would have to argue against, or at least have in your background knowledge, the negation or the falsity of physicalism.
Okay. Now everybody's screaming because everybody loves tag now lately. So then these eternal concepts that have to exist in a mind, are they eternal?
Eternal concepts?
So like math, like you cannot have a square round room.
Oh, I mean, are you asking what my view is on these things or what?
Well, I'm trying to see like if I was to present the tag argument to you, what would you say?
Oh, I would just deny some grounding principles here.
Okay.
So I would just be kind of like, if I'm going to say like value is a real feature of reality, right? Like there are things that have value, love is valuable, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. Real aesthetic like values. If somebody were to like, if I'm the skeptic and somebody were to be like, well, you name me a worldview that can like account for these things. I could just say something like, well, I don't have to ground these things. I don't think every single truth claim needs a metaphysical grounding. I'm just going to be like a relaxed realist and just kind of say they're features of reality, but there's no thing I'm going to point to that necessarily like grounds them.
Brady says, Than, you should have Father Deacon Ananias on the stream with Mike to discuss tag. I think you guys have more different battles to fight than whether or not.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in it. And to be honest with you, even if, sorry if this hurts people's feelings, but even if I thought tag worked, it's not the route I'm going to go when I'm talking with non-believers. In my experience, it's kind of like a joke to them.
Yeah, just giggle at it.
Yeah, and I'd rather use something that they would take seriously than
two grown men debating colors. I was asking out of my own curiosity because I was reading yesterday and then I was just thinking, well, yeah, if colors are oddities can't be grounded in space and time. Does that technically make a color spaceless and timeless?
Yeah, it's kind of, those are weird things to kind of point to. If you want to say that, if you want to like, well, I would even say I would just focus on the immateriality aspect. Are you wanting like an argument to like get to something that is not material, John?
No, I was just curious about specifically about the colors.
Yeah,
and I'm not at that stage where I want to start developing those arguments yet. I'm still trying to figure out what my own epistemology is, so to speak. Kyber came in $5. Says, Stan, do you have any cats and or dogs? And can you give them extra head pats for us? Thanks.
I do have a dog. If you go to there earlier in the stream, you'll see her. Her name is Chantilly. She's a rescue dog. So we just call her the Wee. She's a Border Collie Blue Heeler mix. And I will give her extra pats right now.
Awesome. All right, guys, with that being said, make sure you go follow Inspiring Philosophy. Do all the things that I said earlier. We're going to end the live because I know Abby's sitting back there. She's sick today. So I'll pray for everyone. Pray for Abby. And we will see you guys all on Wednesday. God bless.
Bye.